prayer and national anthem.
In the name of Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we praise and worship you, your holiness, majesty, and greatness. We remain grateful and thank you for your unwavering guidance that made the performance of our task efficiently and amicably. We humbly ask for the gift of your wisdom, clarity of thought, and patience as we commence our meeting today with love and grace in our hearts. We implore that you endow us with strength and humility as we sit down and confer as one family, united in your holy name in all of your greater glory. Please guide our house leaders, members, and officials in order to appreciate and foster the work of this committee as we submit to your grace and mercy. We also pray for all the people present today in this meeting that we will work together in harmony for the best interest of those we will be serving. All this we pray in the mighty name of Jesus Christ and in unity of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
National anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng singanganan, hanap ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Upang hinirang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisiil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kislap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na naglilingling, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng luwalhatit pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pag may mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Please take your seats. Okay. So, thank you very much, the Honorable Johnny Pimentel, for the beautiful prayer. We now proceed to the approval first of the committee reports and corresponding substitute bills.
Mr. Chair, I move for the to dispense with the roll call. First and foremost, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion duly seconded. The roll call is dispensed with.
Also move for the dispense with the reading of the previous minutes and approval of the same, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion by the Vice Chair. Any second? Duly seconded by the Honorable Olivares. The Chair, no objections. The motion of the Honorable Pimentel is hereby approved. We'll go first to approval. May I now ask for the acknowledgement first of the members before we go to the approval of, may I ask the Committee Secretary to call the names of the members present at today's hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, dear members. We have the following members in attendance. Vice Chairperson Johnny T. Pimentel. We also have Honorable Jose C. Alvarez, Honorable John Tracy F. Cagas. We have Honorable Stella Luz A. Kimbo, Honorable Edwin L. Olivares, Honorable Sergio Dagohoc. We also have Deputy Speaker David J. Suarez, Deputy Majority Leader Janet Garin, Honorable Dan Fernandez, Honorable Robert, Honorable Francisco Paulo Ortega, Honorable Jervin Jinky Beatrix Luistro, Honorable Lordon Swan, Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. We also have Honorable Amparo Maria Zamora, Honorable Glona G. Labad-Labad. We have Honorable Joseph Gilbert Violago, Honorable Francisco Bingo Matugas. Your Honors.
Thank you very much. There being a quorum, we now proceed for the Good afternoon, members of this committee. We also welcome our guests and resource persons. Thank you very much for your cooperation and assistance to the committee. This year, the Committee on Franchise remains committed to ensuring its franchise grantees are prepared to deliver essential services to their respective areas. First on our agenda today is the inclusion in the agenda of the approval of the committee reports and substitute bill of House Bills 9429 and 9684 of Cajelco, 0502 for Panelco, House Bill 10693 of Zaneco, and House Bill 9147 of Canoreco. The approval of the House Committee reports and substitute bills were included in the December 9, 2024 committee hearing and agenda. Due to the absence of a quorum, we are again scheduling its approval. We ask the Honorable Johnny Pimentel for the approval of the various committee reports and substitute bills.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the committee report and corresponding substitute bill of the following bills. House Bill number 9429, House Bill number 9684, House Bill number 10502, House Bill number 10693, and House Bill 9147. So moved, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion by the Honorable Johnny Pimentel, seconded by the Honorable Presty De Jesus. The chair hearing no objections. The committee reports and substitute bills are hereby approved.
Mr. Chair.
The Honorable Olivares, you are recognized.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move that all members of the committee and the congressmen and women present on this committee level will be a co-proponent of these bills.
There's a motion by the Honorable Edwin Olivares, seconded by the Honorable Vilago. Motion of the Honorable Olivares hereby approved. Thank you, Honorable Olivares. Next on our agenda is the motu proprio inquiry on the performance of franchise grantee, National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, known as Ngcp. For this meeting, we have invited resource persons from the Department of Energy, Energy Regulatory Commissions, National Electrification Administration, Security and Exchange Commission, National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, Philippine Independent Power Producers Association, the Independent Electricity Market Operator of the Philippines, Synergy Grid and Development of the Philippines Incorporated, Power Sector and Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation, National Association of Electricity Consumers for Reforms, Philippine Competition Commission, the Provincial Government of Iloilo, More Electric Power Corporation, and the National Telecommunications Commission, better known as NTC. As provided under the rules of the House of Representatives, the Committee on Legislative Franchise has jurisdiction over all matters directly and principally relating to the grant, amendment, extension, or revocation of franchises. This committee, with its mandate, must ensure that the privilege of a franchise is given to those who have complied with our laws and have worked for the good of the Filipino people. As always, it is a common good that the committee continues to strive for in this process. Maraming salamat po. Now I ask the COMSEC to please inform this committee to who are the resource persons who were invited and who are here present in today's hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have invited resource persons from the Energy Regulatory Commission, and we have here in attendance the chairperson and CEO Mona Lisa Di Malanta. We also have the commissioners Alexis Lumbatan, Catherine Maceda, Floricinda Baldo Digal, and Commissioner Marco Romeo Fuentes. They are assisted by Attorney Krisha Marie T. Buela, the Director for Legal Service, Attorney Josine Alessandra Gamboa, the head of...
Mr. Chairman, could we have our distinguished resource persons raise their hand and acknowledge their presence because we would like to see them here in this August People's Center? Can we please ask them to raise their hands and say present?
Please, yes, we will ask. I will ask the committee secretary, based on the request of the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez, that all resource persons raise their hands and say that you are present once acknowledged by the committee secretary. Committee secretary, please repeat.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have the chairperson for ERC, NCO Manalisa Di Malanta,
Present, Your Honor.
Commissioner Alexis Lumbatan,
Present, Your Honor.
Commissioner Catherine Maceda,
Present, Your Honor.
Commissioner Florecinda Baldo Digal,
Present, Your Honor.
Commissioner Marco Romeo Fuentes,
Present, Your Honor.
and they are assisted by Attorney Krisha Marie Buela, the Director for Legal Services, Attorney Josine Alessandra Gamboa, and there are several technical staff. They are assisting them at the back, seated at the back of ERC. And from the Department of Energy, we have Undersecretary Sharon S. Garin. From the National Electrification Administration, we have Deputy Administrator Rosan Rosero Lee. From the Bureau of Internal Revenue, we have Attorney Ron Michael Uy.
Present, Your Honor.
From the Securities and Exchange Commission, we have Attorney R.J.A. Bernal
Present, Your Honor.
and Attorney Abigail Shekina Tria.
Present, Your Honor.
From the Philippine Competition Commission, we have Ms. Maria Dominique Lucenario.
Present, Your Honor.
From the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, we have Attorney Lali O. Malyari, the Legal Counseling Assistant of the Office of the General Counsel.
Present, Your Honor.
And Mr. Giovanni Randolph Galang, the Assistant Vice President and Head of the Technical Management Department. From the Independent Electricity Market Operator of the Philippines, we have Attorney Richard Netherscott. From the National Transmission Corporation, we have Engineer Fortunato C. Lanes, the President and CEO.
Present, Your Honor.
From the Power Sector Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation, we have the President, Dennis Edward de la Serna.
Present, Your Honor.
From MORE, they are represented by Mr. Roel C. Castro, the President and CEO.
Present, Your Honor.
From the NCL Power Consulting Corporation, we have Chris Pauline Tampinco,
Present, Your Honor.
the President, and the Peter Jacobus Neld, a Director. From the Royal Asia Appraisal Corporation, we have Engineer Elmer.
Mr. Chairman, we will know the presence of the previous one,
Peter
our
Jacob.
friend, director of what company?
Director of NCL Power Consulting Corporation, Mr. Peter Jacobus Nell.
Thank you.
And from the Royal Asia Appraisal Corporation, we have Engineer Elmer R. Rivera.
Present, Your Honor.
We have invited the Synergy Grid and Development Philippine Incorporation and the Provincial Government of Iloilo. We sent the invitation on January 8, but we have not received any feedback for their attendance, Your Honor. Your Honors.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
The,
Mr. Chair.
Dan Fernandez.
Honorable Dan Fernandez.
Yeah, in the last hearing, we have invited several personalities, like in the person of Anthony Almeida, the President and CEO of Ngcp, Mr. Robert Kyoto, Mr. Henry C., the owner of Taipan 1, Pacific 21, and also Monte Oro and Calaca. And the other board of directors of the said companies, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. The
Nandito po
Honorable
ba
Dan
sila?
Fernandez. May I ask from NGCP, the Honorable Dan Fernandez mentioned the names that were board members that were invited. May I know if they're arriving in today's hearing? NGCP
Mr. Chairman,
Attorney Malyari, you're
Mr.
recognized.
Chairman.
The Honorable Deputy
Yes.
Speaker J.J. Suarez.
Yes, along that line of Congressman Dan Fernandez, I also made a motion to invite representatives from the State Grid International Limited, namely Mr. Zhu Guangchao, Yao Yusheng, Mr. Wang Lijin, and Mr. Liu Jinhua. There are also shareholders into NGCP. I also would like to ask Mr. Chair, are they present in today's hearing?
Attorney Malyari, please respond. Closer to your microphone, we can't hear you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Chair, we are in receipt of the invitation to Mr. Almeda. And in that regard, Mr. Chair, Mr. Almeda will not be able to attend today's hearing due to prior commitment. And the letter in connection with this one has been provided the Honorable COMSEC. Meanwhile, Mr. Chair, I believe we are not in receipt of any invitation from the COMSEC as written invitation, Mr. Chair, as regards the invites for Monteoro, Grid Resources Corporation, Calaca High Power Corporation, Synergy Grid and Development Philippines, Inc., and State Grid International Development Limited, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, if I may, no, I have received the letter of Attorney Almeda, the President and CEO, and regrettably, sinabi niya po dito that I will be unable to attend in person due to prior commitments, Attorney. Is it that important that he needs not to attend this very important hearing today? Mas
Mr.
importante po ba kaya yung prior commitment kesa sa hearing po ng franchise committee? If I may ask lang po.
Mr. Chair, we understand that our hearing today is really significant and important. And Mr. Almeda, I am pretty sure has weighed in that perhaps, Mr. Chair, hindi talaga siya kayang bumitaw dun sa prior commitment na yon, Mr. Chair. And as expressed in the letter, talagang we really acknowledge the importance and significance of this hearing, Mr. Chair.
Anyway, thank you so much for that, Attorney Malyari. Mr. Chair, may we be allowed again to invite Mr. Anthony Almeda in the next hearing? And also those we have invited, no? Probably if they haven't received any written invitation, may we ask the COMSEC if they have sent a written invitation to those people we have invited? Baka naman may failure ang part ng COMSEC.
Definitely to Mr. Almeda, there was an invitation. That's why he has a reply. But for the other officers, since it was moved in the previous hearing, so no invitation has been sent. But now I'm directing the COMSEC that a written invitation still should be sent, even though there was a motion in the last hearing. So I'm going to ask them again to send a written invitation to the people that has been moved. Okay,
Mr. Chair.
it's been moved and duly seconded that these people are invited, should be invited. So
Yeah.
a written invitation, in my opinion, is still needed to ensure their presence in the next hearing. So I asked the COMSEC, I ordered the COMSEC to please give a written invitation to the people that have been invited to this hearing. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
And
Because
Anthony Almeida
other
will be
other resource
given.
persons are here, and I think it's unfair to them being present today while the others are not. And considering that it is the failure of the COMSEC, in not inviting them, pwede bang mag-move na i-contempt natin ang COMSEC? Hindi, joke lang, pero Mr. Chairman, sana po ay, kasi very precious yung ating mga oras, and I hope that the COMSEC will be prudent enough to invite them in writing, kasi we moved that in the last hearing, and I hope that next time around, sana po ay gawin po natin yung ating trabaho. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you
And
very
again, Mr. Chairman, we will be inviting those people that I've mentioned in the last hearing. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dan Fernandez. And also, happy birthday. The Honorable Rufus Rodriguez.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I agree with the Chair that letters of invitation should be sent. We would just like to request in the principle of due process, because these personalities are also very busy in their corporate affairs, to give them the time. And to me, a 7-day period will be okay. In other words, give time. We give them that invitation immediately, and then give them time, because so that they cannot anymore explain that they have prior appointments. So a week's time will be okay.
Thank you very much,
Mr. Chair.
Honorable Rufus Rodriguez.
Mr. Chair, may I?
The Honorable President De Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Congressman Rufus, no? Anyway, meron naman tong second round, so let's invite them. Whatever the available resources as far as NGCP is concerned, we can extract information from them. Siguro, follow up na lang for the next hearing. Definitely, it's going to be a long hearing itong NGCP case. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very
Chairman.
much, Honorable President De Jesus.
Mr. Chair, lastly,
Yes.
I had been advised by the COMSEC that they have no address of those people which we have invited in the last hearing. And they have sent a email on those personalities. Unfortunately, they haven't replied on the email. Most likely, baka mali yung email, or they haven't really gotten the message. So, can we ask Attorney Malyari where to send this invitation?
Attorney Malyari.
Mr. Chair, I have here a copy of the GIS 2024, and I can provide this to the COMSEC. The address of Monte Oro Grid Resources Corporation, Alaka, Synergy Grid, and State Grid are here, Your Honor. So they may be able to send mail matters.
And also the Pacific 21 and the Taipan 1.
They are not here, Your Honor.
No, I mean,
they are
not
not
in the,
here in the GIS that
GIS.
I have.
Can you kindly give it to us? Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you po. So, Mr. Chairman, siguro we can direct our COMSEC to write a letter to those addresses that are written in the GIS. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Para at least sigurado na po tayo na mapapadala po yung mga letters doon sa ating pong mga resource persons. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Dan Fernandez. In our last meeting held December 2023, the NGCP, along with other resource agencies, were required to prepare their respective comments about the issues raised, to submit relevant information requested by the committee members. A few key points were raised in the last meeting. First, ERC confirmed that there are uncompleted projects that are being charged to consumers. It was also opined that the NGCP experiences delays in completing its projects because it uses most of its funds to pay out dividends to its stockholders. Following this, the Independent Electric Market Operator of the Philippines committed to prepare its organization's simulations on the effects of NGCP's delays. Another point mentioned was that the dispersal of ownership clause in NGCP's grant has not complied with the same, as there has been no public offering as agreed upon, and due to NGCP structure, foreigners, most especially China, may end up owning more than 40% of the company, with PCD foreign nominees adding to its stake, leading to a national security implication. Concerns were also raised regarding NGCP's installing telecommunication facilities on its sub-transmission facilities, making it imperative to review the franchise grant because of possible missed potentials. The telecommunications installations were not contemplated when the concession agreements were signed. And such, there is a need to discuss the importance of this business. Finally, there were also claims that NGCP committed other violations in the purchase of certain properties. Given the issues raised and alleged violations committee, the committee approved a motion to have a motu proprio review and analysis of NGCP's performance as a franchise grantee. So the floor is now open for questions that any member may have, but maybe if I may be able to throw the first question, I would like to ask NGCP if they have indeed submitted all that they were required to submit last January 7, 2025.
Again, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair,
Mr. Chairman, sorry. Before we proceed, can I just ask if our new resource persons have already been sworn in?
Okay. Oh, yes. On the request of the Deputy Speaker on the questions he raised, may I ask everyone, all resource persons, to please rise for the oath to be made by the committee secretary. Also those.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this congressional inquiry, so help you God? Thank you.
Please take your seats. Thank you. So, again, Attorney Malyari, you have the floor. Have you submitted the documents requested from you?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, our submission due to volume are in tranches. We submitted 6 January 2025, one, the list of projects per contractor from 2009 to present, and that in this submission, Mr. Chair, we also submitted write-up comments as regards the following issues, Mr. Chair. One is the telecommunication infrastructure within transmission assets. Second is the expropriation of the SSS property. Next is the status of completion of the 3x100 MVA Iloilo substation to connect more power. Next is the rules on manual load dropping implementation raised again by more power. Then another issue that was tackled in the paper that we submitted is the lack of substation capacity in Pangasinan, allegedly causing delays in the connection of RE power plants. And then we also made a response, Mr. Chair, to the statement, quote, tapos na generation project, wala pa ang transmission, end quote. We also made a response, Mr. Chair, to the statement, kahit hindi bilisan ni NGCP ang implementation ng project, nakaka-recover naman sila ng as-spent capex, end quote. We also submitted the write-up, Mr. Chair, by way of response to the statement, quote, mahal-mahal ng presyo ng kuryente dahil nagbabayad tayo ng mga proyektong hindi pa tapos, end quote. We also submitted, Mr. Chair, the current status of ancillary services, that's AS contracting, and write-up on the conduct and completion of the SIS, that's System Impact Studies, and a write-up on the study by the DOE on the effect of heat index on demand, as well as we provided a short status of the Claver-Siargao interconnection project. These are all submitted January 6, 2025. Meanwhile, Mr. Chair, we also made a submission in our letter dated 10 January 2025, again, a paper containing NGCP's response to the inquiry regarding land acquisition under its name. And also, we submitted a copy of the concession agreement between PESAM, Transco, and NGCP. and also in connection with the dispersal of ownership requirement provided under Section 8 of RA 9511, we wrote in our letter, Mr. Chair, that NGCP would like to note that it has been deemed compliant by the ERC as provided in its order dated 26 May 2022, and I quote, after due deliberation and thorough evaluation of all the evidence submitted and all the information gathered by the Commission pursuant to its regulatory powers, the Commission hereby finds the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, NGCP, as compliant with the dispersal of ownership requirement under Section 8 of Republic Act Number 9511, end quote. So those are our submissions, Mr. Chair, as regards the matters taken up during our hearing last December 23, 2024. Mr. Chair, thank you.
Attorney Malyari. As far as the GIS and other ownership documents, have you submitted that?
Mr. Chair, we received on January 7 a letter from the COMSEC requiring us to submit the GIS and AFS of four entities, Your Honor, and these are Monte Oro Grid Resources Corporation, Calaca High Power Corporation, Synergy Grid and Development Philippines, Inc., and State Grid International Development Limited. Mr. Chair, considering that we are not in possession of these corporate records, we sought time, Mr. Chair, for which to submit this. We will coordinate with these entities, Mr. Chair, for us to be able to submit this.
But Attorney, those documents were already requested on the December 23 hearing. And that's the reason why January 6 was given to you as a deadline. So the January 7 letter is not to inform you, but to remind you that you have not complied with those documents.
Mr. Chair, we are in coordination with this as soon as possible, Mr. Chair. As soon as available, we will submit it, Mr. Chair.
What is holding you back? Bakit hindi ho nyo masubmit yung napaka-importanting dokumento na yan?
Mr. Chair, hindi po kasi kami, iba po kasi siyang entity, Mr. Chair. So, kino-coordinate namin sila, Mr. Chair, with their respective corporate secretaries, Mr. Chair.
Okay. How long do you need for you to comply with this? Kasi you were given already 2 weeks to produce all of these documents.
Mr. Chair, our letter provided 31 January 2025. We'll endeavor this week, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman,
The Honorable Rufus
the
Rodriguez.
best way, the best procedure here is to request the entity itself, because these are separate entities having separate corporate personalities. Since Ms. Malyari is giving us the addresses of these 4 corporations, we should direct these corporations to submit the GIS and others, because we cannot go to another entity, the NGCP, when there are separate corporate entities. So I would suggest that we direct our committee secretariat to directly request them to file within 3 or 4 days, so that we can complete these documents. So I would suggest that instead of asking a third party to make efforts to get from other separate corporate entities.
The Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. These entities mentioned are all incorporators of NGCP. Therefore, it
doesn't matter, Mr. Chairman. When there is a corporate entity, it is separate from whoever will be the corporate stockholders of this corporation. So the best way really, Mr. Chairman, is to ask them and to be signed by their officials that these are the true GIS submitted to the Securities and Exchange Commission. That is how it is in corporate law, Mr. Chairman. So my suggestion is just very simple. We have the names and addresses of the corporations. Direct them to be the one to submit to this committee, so that it will not pass other hands, because the stockholders are different from the corporation itself. There arises a corporate entity that is new and different from the stockholders, whether personal or corporations themselves. So that is my suggestion,
Thank
Mr.
you very
Chairman.
much, Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. We take note of that. But for NGCP, as agreed upon, you were supposed to submit the GIS for all. So may we also emphasize that the commitment that you made in the last hearing should be honored. So I'm sure as the company that is subject of this inquiry, it behooves you that I'm sure by now you have documents that of all of them, di ba? Hawak ko niya. Pero yung suggestion ni Honorable Rodriguez, we will also take note of that, no? Pero palagi ko meron din po kayong kopya niyan. Kasi it is to your interest that you know all the incorporators of all of these corporations that are part owners of NGCP.
Sabihin na natin documents.
Attorney Malyari.
We have coordinated, Mr. Chair, we have coordinated with these entities in order for them to give us the GIS and the AFS.
So we will be expecting that in the next hearing. So please submit it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, just a question. That's a
The
query.
Honorable Ace Barbers of the 2nd District of Surigao del Norte.
Thank you, Mr.
recognized.
Chair. Mr. Chair, I was just wondering whether we have asked our resource persons a copy of the shareholders agreement among the shareholders of the NGCP. Have they submitted this document to this committee, Mr. Chair?
The Honorable Barbers, what we have is the GIS, the General Information Sheet, but the shareholders agreement, we are not in possession of that. The question of the Honorable Barbers is, have you requested for it? We have, so that's also
I
something.
think, Mr. Chair, that based on the transcript of the previous hearings, there was a request for a copy of the shareholders agreement among the shareholders of the NGCP. And if they have not submitted this document to this committee, I believe this is a very important piece of document that can inform this body as to what legislative actions we can take after the committee hearing, Mr. Chair.
Attorney Malyari.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I would like to make a manifestation insofar as, Mr. Chair, insofar as the shareholders agreement in a proceedings with the Senate Committee on Energy, where there was also a request for a copy of the shareholders agreement. There are several manifestations in that letter, Mr. Chair, as regards the submission thereof. And if I may be allowed to quote a bit.
Please.
So
Proceed.
in that letter, Mr. Chair, what NGCP stated is that, quote, NGCP respectfully manifests that the shareholders agreement is the subject of and has been produced as evidence in an ongoing arbitration proceedings administered by the Singapore International Arbitration Center, SIAC, between NGCP as claimant and the Power Sector Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation, PISOM, and the National Transmission Corporation, Transco, as respondents. As evidence in an arbitration proceeding, the shareholders' agreement is protected by confidentiality under Section 23 of Republic Act Number 9285, or the Alternative Dispute Resolution. I'll go on the last paragraph of the letter to the Senate Committee on Energy, Mr. Chair. Should the Senate insist, quote, should the Senate insist on the production of the shareholders agreement relative to matters in which it may potentially legislate, it should issue the corresponding subpoena ducis tecum for the protection of NGCP. Otherwise, NGCP may be held in breach of its confidentiality obligations, end quote, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
so,
Mr. Chairman,
wait, so Attorney Malyari, what date is that? Anong sulat? Anong petsa ho niyan?
May 24, 2023, Mr. Chair.
And since 2023, what is the status of that? Did you submit? Did they submit? Did they give a subpoena?
Mr. Chair, can you give me like 1 minute? Because I was not the one attending this.
Okay, so please look for that.
Yeah.
Look for that. The status. I'll give you 1 minute, but I just would like to remind everyone that Section 1 of the Rules of Procedures governing inquiries in aid of legislation of the 19th Congress, Section 1, Paragraph 2, the filing or pendency of a case before any court, tribunal, or quasi-judicial or administrative body shall not stop or abate any inquiry conducted to carry out a legislative purpose. So that's in our rules, okay?
Yeah, in
Thank you
addition
very
to that,
much.
Mr.
The
Chair, if I
Honorable,
may,
Robert Ace Barbers.
the reason why I feel that that document is very important in this inquiry is because we'd like to determine, no, sino ba talaga nagko-control ng NGCP? Di ba? Is it run, controlled, managed, operated by the Chinese? Or is it really the Filipino? So, kaya very crucial ito, Mr. Chair, because we'd like to determine up to what extent does the foreign incorporators or counterpart have influence over the management, operation, and control of this corporation? So this is really a very important piece of document, Mr. Chair. And as you stated, based on our rules, no one can deny us this document once it is asked and demanded by the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very
Mr.
much,
Chairman.
Honorable Barbers. The Honorable J.J. Suarez, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I remember in the last December 23 briefing that we had, it was this representation that moved for a copy of the shareholders agreement. And in fact, during the time that we had the briefing on the 23rd of January of December of last year, up until last week, I was requesting from the COMSEC a copy of the shareholders agreement. Unfortunately, since the time that we had the briefing and until last week, wala pong pinadalang kopya ang NGCP ng shareholders agreement. Now, the good Congressman Barbers has already emphasized the importance of why we need to have a copy of that shareholders agreement. So therefore, Mr. Chairman, I move that we subpoena duces tecum, the shareholders agreement
Second motion.
of NGCP with the shareholders, Mr. Chair. So move.
Thank you very much, the Honorable J.J. Suarez, duly seconded by the Honorable Dan Fernandez. Any objections? The chair, any objections? The motion is hereby approved. COMSEC, please prepare the necessary documents for submission before the next hearing. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
The Honorable Deputy Speaker, you still have the floor.
along the line of the subpoena that we have just acted upon, can I just request that the chair also give a timeline? At least it is something that we can hold on to when NGCP can comply with the committee with regards to the submission of the shareholders agreement. Kasi baka mag-comply sila sa susunod na taon pa eh. Kasi nung isang taon ko pang hiningi yung kopya, hanggang ngayon wala pa rin.
So may we ask the COMSEC, we will give you a week to proceed to produce all the documents required. So the COMSEC, may ask Attorney Malyari that if you could please produce the documents within a week, okay, so that we can proceed smoothly and intelligently in this hearing. So COMSEC, 1 week is given to them. Thank you. We now proceed. So that's to NGCP. I just would like to ask ERC. ERC, andito po, Attorney our Chairperson Mona Lisa Di Malanta,
Mr. Chairman.
the Honorable Rufus.
Yeah, before we proceed to the ERC, it has been stated that there has been submissions of the NGCP January 6 and 9. For the better understanding of all the members of this committee and those present, may I request the copies to be given to each one of us here so that we can follow through the discussions of this hearing. So that each one of us will be holding it and can read it while there will be testimonies from resource persons.
Honorable Rufus Rodriguez, I'm asking them to provide a copy today, a copy, so that some members have been given the copy. And thank you very much for attending the hearing. So a copy now will be given to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Honorable
Mr. Chairman.
Rufus Rodriguez. So for ERC, ano po masasabi po natin tungkol sa mga dokumentong sinabit po ng NGCP? Meron po ba kayong masasabi tungkol dito?
Mr. Chair, good afternoon. We were not furnished copies of the documents, Mr. Chair, that were submitted by NGCP.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you also please provide a copy to ERC? Thank you very much. Comsec, pakabigyan din ng kopya na yan so that they can peruse. Any member that would like to ask a... there are more members in today's hearing. The Honorable
Mr. Chair, may I also
Tina
ask a
Pancho
copy?
is here. The Honorable Tina Pancho, welcome. Honorable Tina Pancho. The Honorable Tony Ferrer is also here. Welcome. The Chairman of the Committee on Games. The Deputy Minority Leader, President Jesus, and the Honorable Vice Chair, Jeffrey Konghun. Thank you, sir, for attending today's hearing. We now proceed. DOE. The Honorable Sharon Garin. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If you allow, we have a short presentation.
Yes, please.
And,
Your
to-
presentation, please.
And together
Enlighten
with
us.
together with the DOE family, I think Transco and IMAP have presentations.
Transco has a different presentation.
Yes, yes, sir, because the topic is different.
So you start it off, then Transco will come in after you.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
You have the floor.
Can we start to the slides, please? Next slide. I'll try to make this as brief as possible, Mr. Chair. The first slide shows the history of NGCP. No? On 2011, IPIRA was enacted. So Transco took over the transmission business, both the systems operation as well as the transmission assets. Now, when you go to 2007, that is when NGCP, they had the bidding for these functions, Mr. Chair. And at that time, it was 40%, on December 2007, 40% State Grid Corporation of China, 60% Monte Oro Grid Resources Corporation, and Calaca High Power Corporation. The offer back then was $3.95 billion, Mr. Chair. Now, moving forward, NGCP registered in 2008, and then in 2008 February, PISAM, Transco, and NGCP entered into a concession agreement. Ito yung unang agreement, Mr. Chair. Then, in the concession agreement, this is 25 years that you can extend another 25 years. So yung unang 25 will expire on 2034. At the same year, on November, Congress granted the franchise to NGCP. Why is this important, Mr. Chair? Kasi condition yan at that time ng concession agreement na kuhanin ng NGCP yung franchise. It was a condition in the concession agreement, Mr. Chair. So NGCP was granted the franchise in 2008, and then and now we have NGCP both as a transmission network service provider and a system operator. Next slide, please. Next slide. So you're talking about three items here. There's EPIRA, there's franchise, and then there's the concession agreement. Sa EPIRA kasi it covers, at that time it was just Transco. No? So under this, under the EPIRA, so ang system operator of the nationwide electrical transmission and subtransmission system. It had the functions of two. I'll just go through the more important: ensure and maintain the reliability, adequacy, security, stability, and integrity of the nationwide electric grid, and the ancillary services, Mr. Chair. Now, if you go to the franchise, other than these responsibilities, it also reflected na dalawa rin yung function: system operations and the transmission assets. I'll explain later what's the difference between the two, Mr. Chair. So it has to construct, install, finance, improve, expand, rehabilitate, and repair the nationwide transmission system in the grid. Naka-include din dito, Mr. Chair, siya yung susulat or mag-prepare ng transmission development plan. This plan, ito yung plan na year 1, about 2024, what are we going to complete? 2025, anong grade ang dapat ma-construct? Because it is being synchronized with the other plans that the energy family has, which is transmission, distribution, generation, and other plans that we have, which is under the Philippine Energy Plan. So, ang essential lang dito sa franchise, for the members to remember, no? There is a provision that says it is both the system operator and the transmission assets. Second, ang franchise tax nito is 3% in lieu of all taxes, which means you don't pay corporate income tax, value-added tax, or even local taxes like real property tax, sales tax, kung anumang ibang taxes, basta 3% franchise tax lang, Mr. Chair. Now, the other one is that that yung regulatory sa franchise, it's more focused on ERC as a regulatory, although DOE has a general regulatory or policy-making function, but in the franchise, emphasize lang po yung ERC functions. Now, so in the next slide explains the concession agreement. Ang concession agreement kasi, it depends on the granting of the franchise. What's essential in the concession agreement is that other than having the franchise, sinasabi dyan sa concession agreement, on section 2.04, na all assets dapat na sa pangalan ng Transco, which is not being followed today. Ano? So, yan yung mga isa sa mga essential parts of the concession agreement. The concession agreement is about to expire in 2034, so it's due for renewal, Mr. Chair. Now, next slide. Ito po yung difference in transmission network provider tsaka system operator. Just to simply put, yung infrastructure, yun yung transmission network provider. Ang system operator, yun yung conductor. Sinong papasok, sinong lalabas, including the ancillary services to ensure safety, power quality, stability, reliability, and security of the grid. So, both of these functions, in other countries, it's separate. In some countries, they're together also. But in our country, it's just one entity, ang transmission network provider and the system operator. So this is a huge task for NGCP kasi other than being an archipelago, talagang very complicated tong trabaho nila. Next slide, please. I just wanted to show the financial statements as submitted by NGCP in the next slide. Yan. So in the first column is the year, then next you have the revenues, capex, net income, dividends, and loans. These are based on the audited financial statements submitted as as the reportorial requirement of NGCP. Mr. Chair, the total revenue is 663 billion in the past 14 years. The average annual net income is 22.52 billion, and the average annual dividends is 16.86 billion, while the total net income is 315 billion and the total dividends is 236 billion. NGCP's total capex is 237.8 billion and the total loan is 237.6 billion. Based on the Transco's 2023 annual report, the total transmission asset is 544 billion. Compared to the above, to the said figures sa table, the total revenue of NGCP in the last 14 years, 663 billion, has exceeded the valuation of the total transmission asset of Transco at 544 billion. The total concession fee paid by NGCP in the last 16 years of 203.62 billion has been overtaken by the total dividends received by its owners of 236 billion, Mr. Chair. Next slide, please. Now, these are the delayed projects, Mr. Chair. Meron kasing sa transmission development plan, nakalagay yan kung kailan matatapos o hindi. But what happens is every time there is a new transmission development plan, which is annual in submission, there's a new schedule that's being put. But just going through this, there are currently 224 ang nasa record po namin at sa record ng Transco. Out of the completed projects, which is 109 projects, 12 lang po ang natapos within schedule. 97 ang delayed na project. Out of the ongoing projects today, which are 55 projects, 9 lang ang within schedule, 46 ang delayed. And then on the pre-construction stage, we have about 60 projects, Mr. Chair. We go to the next slide, please.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask Yusek Garin a question? Or
Can we allow her to finish her presentation?
Okay, thank you
so
very
please,
much.
take note so that we have a we can we can ask all members, no, that would like to ask Yusek Garin to ask sabay-sabay na tayo para hindi tayo paulit-ulit. The Honorable Garin, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
I yield to the better judgment of the chairman.
Speaker.
This one, Mr. Chair, shows the major projects. Some are finished already, like the MVIP, or the Mindanao Visayas Connection, Cebu Negros Panay, Hermosa San Jose. These are completed projects. There are pending pa. So, for example, ang Panay, which is in the middle of the, which is Cebu Negros Panay. 2020 dapat natapos yan. 5 times na move. Year on year lang yan. Kasi within the year, may movement din yan eh. So, natapos siya ng December, kailan yan? March 27, 2024. For example, there was a 3-day island blackout in Panay from January 2 to January 5 in 2024. As a result of multiple coal-fired power plants succumbing to issues resulting from the manner in which they are utilized by the system operator. Ang epekto niyan, Mr. Chair, I think I would rather give NGCP or ERC a chance to explain what happened kasi sila nag-i-investigate. the delay in the completion of the Cebu-Negros Panay, hindi lang dahil sa blackout yan, but exacerbated by that blackout, was estimated by IMAP at that time during the report to us to have cost the Negros subgrade an average of 8.5 million pesos a month and the Panay subgrade an average of 79 million a month. Mr. Chair, IMAP can explain this better because they're the ones calculating the prices. And then in addition, the severely delayed integration of the MVIP at Mindanao was also estimated to have cost the consumers, hindi po yung generator, consumers an average of 1.44 billion per month for Luzon, 150 million for Visayas per month, and 154 million per month for the consumers in Mindanao. Mr. Chair, it's not just the delay of projects, it's the cost to the consumers, Mr. Chair. For example, on the Batangas-Mindoro interconnection and the Northern Luzon Loop, which have big potential for offshore wind, the projects, for example, that are in total 1,185 megawatts of potential capacity, which are slated to come online between 2025 to 2026, will be affected by the delay in transmission kasi sa 28 at 27. Tapos, after pa matapos yung project, saka papasok yung transmission. So, the project's delays range from 9 months to as long as 8 years and 7 months and are expected to cost, ang onshore lang to developers of 64 billion in potential revenues. Mr. Chair, marami pa tong situations where nanalo na sila sa auction or sa FIT at hindi nila ma-deliver because the transmission is not there, Mr. Chair. We can give the committee more information on this. Marami lang kasi ito masyadong, Mr. Chair. Like Hermosa San Jose. Hermosa San Jose is what connects Bataan to Metro Manila. Dahil na-delay to, 2020 pa dapat natapos to, there was around, I'm not sure about the exact megawatts, but about 2,000 megawatts ang na-stranded doon sa Bataan na, or the upper area. Kaya hindi siya mabato sa Manila, Mr. Chair. Go to the next slide, please. Now, with all these delays, with all the costs that we've been talking about, actually, kung titignan niyo po sa cost of electricity, because I think the objective of the committee is to lower the rates, but the transmission is really small. If you have a 4,000 peso bill, you have a 227.59 peso bill on transmission. That's correct, Mr. Chair, but a delayed transmission has an effect in the cost of the generation also, Mr. Chair. Kasi kung may delay yan, either sa power supply agreement sila, ang DU mo, or magwe-WESM ka. So there's an effect there, and I think IMAP can explain that better later, Mr. Chair. And that is where I think on the part of ERC and Transco and on IMAP, they explain the effect of this on the consumers. But on the DOE side, what is the impact on the GenCo? It affects, kasi, for example, Mr. Chair, we made calculations on what is the effect on our generation companies. If we go to the next slide, please. Dahil nag-mandate yung presidente na dapat 35% na tayo sa RE. So we've been pushing and we have so many contracts already. Actually, we are over-contracted with renewable. The problem is, kung walang grid, tapos na yung project mo, may losses ang GenCo. Nakatayo na yung solar farm mo, wala kang connection, you're losing money every day, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, for example, we've made calculations on the cost on the GenCos. For wind power, there will be 11 projects affected. Potential capacity would have been 3,285 megawatts. Ang onshore po, Mr. Chair, ang expected loss ng onshore wind would be 68,272,413 1,362 pesos. How do we calculate that? Kung kailan dapat siya maging online, binibilang siya per day nila and per month nila kung ano sana ang potential nila kung nabenta na sana nila yan. Offshore, Mr. Chair. On offshore, there will be at least three projects affected, 2,100 megawatts. That's 251,465,000,000 and 760,000 pesos. On solar, 10 projects affected. It's 4,563,282 and 095 pesos. A total of not less than 324 billion costing our generation companies, Mr. Chair. That's the impact on Department of Energy, Mr. Chair. Kasi we plan to reach our targets, but if one of the players in this chain, no, si Genco, si Transmission, pati si DU, pag may nagkamali or one of them is not performing properly, then the whole system is affected. And this is the effect on the generation companies, Mr. Chair. With that, Mr. Chair, if you want, we can proceed with the other agencies or ask the question, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair.
We'll have the now
Yeah.
to the agency while it still stays fresh in the minds of our members in the Honorable the Honorable Deputy. Okay muna, Vice Chair.
Sandali lang ako. I'll just be
The
brief.
Vice Chair,
Mr. Chair.
then the Honorable J.J. Suarez, then the Honorable Rufus, then the Honorable Dan Fernandez. Thank you.
First of all, Mr. Chair, it was a very comprehensive presentation. I commend Yusek Garin. For a layman, maintindihan mo talaga yung presentation niya. So we would like to have a copy of the presentation. Can we go back to the first slide, please? Yung first slide na presentation. Yes. It states there that the bid was done in December of 2007, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
However, NGCP was only registered with the SEC on February 2008. So, I'm just asking, did the government, hindi ba ni-require ng government that the bidder should be registered with SEC? Parang mali yata. For what I know, all bidding of government contracts or whatever, you must be SEC registered before be a participant of any bidding by the government. But in this case, mukhang baliktad. Nagbidding muna before there was a registration with the SEC. So, yan ang question ko. Why, paano nangyari ito? All biddings, every entity that participates in any government bidding should be SEC registered or DTI registered for that matter. So that is one of the questions that must be answered, I think, by this committee. Now, another question would be, which is more important, the concession agreement or the franchise? Which comes first? So, Mr. Chair, I think we'll have to really dig deeper and see what happened during the bidding. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. Actually, the
Secretary.
parties to this agreement are Transco, NGCP, and PISAM. And PISAM is here because they can explain better. But just before, if PISAM wants to answer, Mr. Chair, it was a consortium at that time, so hindi pa siya nare-register. Nanalo lang sa bidding as a consortium, and then they were required para makakuha sila ng concession agreement. But a question, if what is more important, I guess both are important, Mr. Chair, but as to the superiority of the document, then the franchise is always, because it's the law. But the concession agreement also rules on the private relationship, as a private contract. So meron din sila, despite it being a public service or public utility, may condition naman talaga na dapat kumuha ka ng franchise. But I don't think there's any conflict between the two, Mr. Chair, except probably for the term. Iba lang yung expiration ng isa, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if you want, I think PISAM is in a better position how to explain the historical of their agreement. Kasi nandito naman si President Dennis, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vice Chair Pimentel. The Honorable Deputy Speaker J.J. Suarez.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to refer to the slides that the good USEC presented earlier about the development plan. Can we put that on the screen, please? Kanina iniisa-isa niyo po USEC, di ba, yung mga itinatay yung mga projects. Pwede po ba natin balikan yon? ComSec, can we ask the tech?
On the delays on transmission, yan.
Oo. Yung may mga delays, may mga binanggit kasi si USEC na delays.
Mr. Chair,
I think it's
lahat yata may delayed. All of that is delayed actually.
Yeah, no, I think it's the slide previous to that, yung mas marami. Yeah, there. When it comes to the ongoing projects, USEC, you mentioned that there are some delays to these projects, no? Number one, who identifies which projects are to be prioritized and implemented within a given time period?
Mr. Chair.
Is there a transmission plan, or is it DOE following an energy plan for the country?
Mr. Chair. Well,
USEC Garin, please reply.
ideally, we have a transmission development plan which should be prepared by NGCP. It is being prepared by NGCP naman every year. Then it will be approved by DOE eventually, ano? And that will be the basis. It's not a matter of which is more important. Para sa naka-TDP na yan, yun na dapat yung schedule. Now, what happens is, Mr. Chair, is that every submission of a TDP, the target completion date changes also in the previous years, Mr. Chair.
Yun nga po, Mr. Chairman, yung gusto kong sanang mapansin natin eh. It's a moving target, in other words. Kaya nga gusto ko malaman kung sino po ba ang nag-identify ng mga projects to be implemented. Kasi sila din ang magsasabi kung kailan dapat matapos ito. Kaso lang, base po sa sinasabi ninyo, NGCP ang nagbibigay ng proyekto to be approved by DOE, and then you mentioned that it's a moving target. So, how are we supposed to hold companies, entities accountable to their performance targets if we can't even hold on to specific targets when it comes to when projects should be completed?
The targets are supposed to be fixed, and that's what our comment to NGCP actually in the last review of the yung mga targets na yan, dapat fix siya, hindi siya moving target, and that's what we communicated to NGCP. Previously though, Mr. Chair, the previous to this administration, di ba ilang beses din siya nag-move previous to this administration, na-approve din siya ng DOE kasi but it is being prepared by NGCP. It's basically like a unilateral decision on their part to change, but technically it goes through the process also. Dinadaanan din yan, nag-approve, recommended by a consulting Transco and then approved by DOE, Mr. Chair. Ngayon pa lang kami nagsabi na dapat hindi na yan pinapalitan.
Kung ito po ay moving target at sabihin na natin hindi na natapos ng NGCP at the timetable, at the time frame that was provided to them, are they penalized?
Sir, the penalty would be under the ERC because they're the regulator. Pero, Mr. Chair, these are not supposed to be moving targets. Kasi si Genco, hindi gumagalaw yung target niya for his generation. Si distribution, ganun din. So, even the demand of our households are not moving targets. Kung i-increase yan, mag-i-increase yan. So these are violations of the TDP, not only of the TDP, but also their concession and the EPIRA and the franchise, Mr. Chair.
Yun actually yung point na gusto ko sanang sabihin at i-emphasize, Mr. Chair, na unahan lang ako ni Yusek. Siyempre, yung pangailangan ng taong bayan ng kuryente, hindi naman pwede mag-antay yun, di ba? So, ang hindi ko lang po masyadong maunawaan sa isang kumpanya na napakalaki po ng kinikita, dividendong pinamamahagi na umabot ng bilyon taon-taon, bakit hindi po nila matapos yung mga proyekto sa takdang panahon? At sila pa magsasabi kung kailan nila tatapusin to ayon sa kanilang kakayahan. When in fact, I don't see any reason why they should even have delays in their projects. So, Mr. Chair, like for example, no, let me just go down this list. I have a list of projects here that have been delayed. Some have been delayed for 5 years, some have been delayed for 6 years. Meron po dito 10 years na pong delayed, meron po dito 9 years na pong delayed. Some of those are relocation of steel poles. Meron po ditong Tugigaraw, Lalo project, Bingas, San Manuel transmission project. Meron pa palang susunod na pahina to, and the list is so long, Mr. Chair. So again, how are we to hold a company accountable to their performance indicators when it comes to providing transmission lines to the country? Dito po sa amin, sa sarili ko pong karanasan sa lalawigan ng Quezon, inaabot po ng taon bago makapagpatayo ng Ngcp ng bagong substation doon po sa bayan ng Pagbilao. And it affected a lot of investors. It actually led to two investors closing down just because Ngcp wasn't able to put up the power station, the substation that was required. So, and I'm sure this is not only limited to or happening in Quezon Province. I'm sure this is actually happening in the entire country. So, Mr. Chair, I want that point to be emphasized. And if Ngcp can explain their dismal performance to this committee, I would appreciate an explanation from Ngcp, Mr. Chair.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, baka makapag-interject lang ako ng kapraso. Kasi nga, even itong masyadong maraming delays that our Deputy Speaker have mentioned, I think ang Ngcp wala namang worry even these projects are delayed. Kahit 10 years yan, 9 years yan, wala silang problem eh. Because these are being paid and passed through to the consumers. Hindi pa siya used and useful, hindi pa siya commission, hindi pa siya tapos. Binabayaran na po natin to. Kahit sabihin mong 10 taon, 9 taon, 5 taon yan, no problem. Basta't bayaran ng taong bayan. So wala silang hurry eh. Wala silang reason to hurry the construction or the infrastructure na dapat po matapos. Dahil nga, bayad naman eh. And that was allowed by the third regulatory period. The rules of the third regulatory period allows it. But unfortunately, dito, sa mamaya, i-discuss ko, Mr. Chairman, sa fourth regulatory period, hindi na po allowed yan. But, the majority decision of the ERC have decided, no, na spent na lang. Kaya nga yun yung minimension ko in the last hearing eh. Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, yun lang pong gusto kong mention. Kaya tumatagal ang project po natin dahil binabayaran na yan ng taong bayan.
Thank you,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. The Honorable Dan Fernandez.
Mr. Chair, may I?
The Honorable Presley, I would like NGCP to first
Just
to
a quick
reply
question.
to the question of the Honorable Deputy Speaker J.J. Suarez. Please reply.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. I'm Attorney Pia Sanjego from NGCP. We'd just like to seek the committee's permission that we be given copies of the lease of these projects, and we will be able to submit a detailed explanation or the reasons for the completion dates and the reasons for the moving as the transfer or the change of the new completion dates.
Sandali na po.
And
Kayo po nag-submit ng dokumento sa amin. Hindi ko kami magsasubmit sa inyo.
yes, Your Honor, but the names of the projects we could be clarified from the presentation of Yusek Garin. Or if we may, we will submit the list of projects and the completion dates as well as the reasons for the change of the moving targets.
Mr. Chairman, we have already received.
That was requested last hearing.
Actually, Mr. Chair, if I can refresh the committee's memory, this was the discussion we had on the 23rd of December last year. This is precisely the reason why I also requested that a copy of all the contractors employed by NGCP be submitted to us because we already discussed the project delays. So, inuulit lang po natin yung discussion natin, Mr. Chair. Kaya ngayon, I don't understand why NGCP is requesting for a copy of the projects that are delayed when in fact we already had a discussion and they have a list of this from the 23rd December hearing that we had, Mr. Chair.
And just to for NGCP, di ba nag-submit na kayo ng listahan sa ERC? Hiningi na ho ng ERC to sa inyo eh. So ba't ninyo kami bigyan ng kopya kung ano binigay nyo sa ERC? Ganun na lang po para mabilis tayo.
Yes, Your Honor, we'll submit whatever the report we have submitted to the ERC as to the update or the status of this
Ayun, mas
projects.
mabilis yun. Kasi hindi mo pwede kami magbibigay ng dokumento. Kami ho nag-i-inquire.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is, di ba? So, ERC, do you have a copy of the... Can you provide this committee
Yes,
a
Mr.
copy of the list of delayed projects submitted to you by NGCP?
Mr. Chair, yes, we actually submitted also to the committee the list of the 37 delayed projects that we investigated, that was subject of the investigation, and for which there were, I think, 35 or 34, for which we have penalized NGCP for the delay.
How much
So,
was the penalty, ma'am?
15 million lang po.
Only?
15
For what? For each per project or for all
that's the
34?
total already, Mr. Chair.
So that's only like 500,000 per project.
Opo. Kasi po may schedule of penalties po kami na sinusunod. For first violation, for second, and then for third, 500,000. So cumulative penalty was 15.8.
So don't you think that 500,000 or 15 million for 34 projects is too small?
Yes, we agree, Mr. Chair. That's
So what do you
why-
plan to do about that?
No, we're already revising our schedule of fines and penalties, Mr. Chair. Plus, we're seeking amendment also of EPIRA to allow us to impose higher penalties.
So please, I think that's something that has to be addressed during your term,
Apo.
Chair Mona Lisa.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Para naman magkaroon po ng ngipin, no, yung penalty nyo. Kasi kung 500,000 lang, mas mabuti mag-penalty na lang ako kaysa, di ba? Kaysa ikompleto ko yung proyekto. In the meantime, as stated by DOE, tumataas ang kuryente. Thank you.
Yes,
Mr. Chair,
Yes. The Honorable...
just a quick
wait.
follow-up to DS.
Is it my turn, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, wait. The Honorable J.J. Suarez, are you done?
Mr. Chair, that was just an interjection. I think we do have a flow of interpollators. I'll just wait for my turn. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I even raised my hand, Mr. Chair.
Well, no, the Honorable Presley De Jesus, before you came in, the Honorable Rufus, there's a list that I will have to follow. So, with all due respect, after the Honorable Rufus will be the Honorable Presley, then the Honorable Jinky. Ma'am. So now we proceed, Honorable Rufus Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could we have the slide on the delayed projects, especially Visayas and Mindanao? Can we have the slide here? The next slide, please. The next one. That's it. Go lower. because that is where my island belongs, where I belong to that island of Mindanao. Okay? Delays. How about Visayas, Mindanao?
Mindanao.
The last one, huh? Yes, it is way down. Okay, so anyway, can we put that up? Yeah. No, I want everybody to see the last item because it is
Yes.
covered by the tables and chairs. But for everybody.
We
Okay,
cannot,
it's fixed. Okay,
move it.
so-
It's fixed.
Okay, so Mindanao has been interconnected with the Visayas last January 2024. My constituents, Cagayan de Oro City, 2nd District, would thank the NGCP for finally connecting Mindanao to the Visayas and to Luzon. Why? Because if we need more energy from Luzon, Visayas, they can give to us, and if we have an excess capacity in Mindanao, we can help Visayas and Luzon. There is a 5-year delay. I am personally, I know this because of right-of-way problems. First right-of-way that I encountered, the Cebu Golf Club filed a case in the Supreme Court to stop the NGCP from putting lines to Cebu that will go ultimately to Lanao del Norte and then to Cagayan de Oro. And I said, and I was able to come to the press and state, is golf more important than the needs of Mindanao? Everybody scrambled, including Secretary Frasco, calling me and saying, we will ask the golf club to manifest in the Supreme Court that they should now agree and not to stop it. Because if we stop because of the golf course, then certainly our priorities are not in the right places. And indeed, it took about 8 months to be able to proceed with NGCP's lines of transmission going through Cebu and then going to the island of Negros and then going to Lanao del Norte. That's the first one, Mr. Chairman. You know why I know this? Because I am one of the foremost proponents for the interconnection of Mindanao to the rest of the grid. Visayas already has interconnection with Luzon. But why Mindanao is not yet in? Even during the time of President Pinoy, he was in Iligan City. I spoke there that President Pinoy already support the NGCP to make sure that we interconnect Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. So now it's interconnected. And so now there will be many more power generation companies that will come to Mindanao because if we have excess, they can sell it, especially Luzon, who has a very tight supply on energy. Next, Mr. Chairman, that is why we cannot blame NGCP for the delay, at least for the Visayas, Mindanao interconnection. The next problem is Lanao del Norte. Right of way, you cannot just, you cannot just be able to dig and put your transmission lines there because, or put posts there because our Muslim brothers in Lanao del Norte will object. And in fact, they have objected. So what did we do? We were able to talk to the governor and the congressman of Lanao del Norte. It took so much time also because they have to talk with the owners of the properties. And so to be able to put just point, Secretary Garin, my former colleague, to state that it's 5 years delay and we should penalize them and to the ERC to increase the penalties. We have to look at the reasons. And in fact, if we see the reasons for delay, the right-of-ways that could not be immediately be secured, it stops the project. And so that is why, Attorney Malyari, we thank you. Because Mindanao is now interconnected to Visayas and Mindanao. There are more companies that are putting up power generation plants in Mindanao because they can now sell to Luzon and the Visayas if they have excess capacity. And right now, I tell you, because of the development of Mindanao, brought about by President Bongbong Marcos. Nakapasok na. So, we expect, if you will see the NEDA report, Region 11 followed by Region 10, there's a lot of companies going there, and therefore there will be a need for more watts and more power companies. And so we cannot, my dear colleague Sharon, who has been, with us, presentations like this looks like, NGCP has not done its job. But let me tell you that based on my personal experience, at least these two right-of-ways problem easily would cause the delay. So what I'm saying here, Mr. Chairman, is let us look at the reasons for the delay. Because NGCP would want to connect all of these grids and all of our consumers, because it is for the best interest of the company. They will be able to charge more. And so those are my experiences, and that's why I am here to state that NGCP, as far as Mindanao is concerned, has interconnected us, and we are now doing well in terms of our electricity provisions, our electricity supply, and we are assured that the thing that happened in 1997, 98 will not happen again to Mindanao. And therefore, this is one way that we are saying that there is a reason why there is some delay. And to us, are we trying to dissolve the 50-year franchise of the NGCP? Is that the reason, Mr. Chairman? The BIR, in the hearing of the Ways and Means, clearly stated, NGCP has paid all the tax liabilities of the company by Mr. Romeo Lumagi, the BIR chief. ARC chairman has stated, is that correct, Madam Chair Di Malanta, that you said that there has been a compliance of the tax responsibilities of NGCP?
Mr. Chair, in another hearing po, we confirmed that what we have seen from our records is compliance with the 3% franchise tax.
Precisely, that was the issue. NGCP has complied. BIR has complied. Now, why are we here? Why are we going to, try to make it, make the NGCP look bad? Let us hear them, Mr. Chairman. And that is why, Mr. Chairman, you already have the list. And those are the issues. I counted a dozen issues. What you asked them were to submit papers, but let them answer. The ones that you mentioned in the early part of this hearing, the issue of the Chinese controlling NGCP. What is their answer? I'd like to have that. The share agreement. What is the share agreement clear? That really there is an agreement that the Chinese will control, because I'm always against the Chinese, especially in the West Philippine Sea, and we don't want them to control the NGCP and transmission in this country. So I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that the position paper on these issues, you have listed a dozen issues. Let them answer directly. Submission of documents is okay. But then these are specific issues, and I appreciate the committee in the December 23 hearing that we have identified these issues, and let them submit a position paper to all of us so that we can see, because if there is a violation of that, I'll be the first one to move and file a bill to cancel the NGCP. Just when I filed a bill to suspend the franchise of Cebu Pacific because we were delayed for one day from Cagayan de Oro. And that caused them to really improve. Before, they had only 2 standby planes, Pacific. Now they have 5 because I filed this particular bill to suspend. There has to be. Motu proprio, Mr. Chairman, we can do it. But there has to be clear violations that is clear, because under our Constitution, everybody, there should be no deprivation of life, liberty, or property, Article 2, Section 2, without due process of law. And NGCP has property intangible. which is the 50-year franchise. And so therefore, Mr. Chairman, I have said my piece. And so just to answer the report of our dear colleague, Sharon Garin, but let me tell you, us in Mindanao are enjoying the interconnection, delayed, better late than never. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. At least this motu proprio hearing was called not to make any entity look bad, but for your information, it's usually to try to understand why all these delays are happening, and also for us to see the effect of the delays in the price of electricity, the Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. At least meron po nagpapasalamat, maski na mag-delay ka ng 6 years, nagpapasalamat si Honor, hindi, 2018 po to 2024, 6 years po yan. And this is, so at least may nagpapasalamat, 6 years delay, nagpapasalamat pa rin si Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. Maraming salamat, Honorable Rufus. But anyway, the Honorable Sharon Garin, you have the floor.
Mr. Chair, I'm supposed to be next, so I can question Ms. Sharon
Kasi,
Garin. Ako na muna.
there was
It
a
is
question
interrelate-
raised by the Honorable Rufus, and it was kind of addressing the position of ERC, so I will have to give them a chance to reply. The Honorable Sharon Garin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, that's correct. We're actually, DOE is very grateful that it's connected kasi nababato na yung excess power. But, Mr. Chair, just for the information of the body, I'm actually heading a committee in DOE checking why are there delays. And we are very familiar of the problems, whether it's the tree cutting permit or the DNR permit or even the DA for the conversion on DAR, even for LGUs. There are issues, Mr. Chair. But the issue on the right-of-way, at least, sir, kaya siya nag-privatize, no? Kasi that should be done by the private entity. Now, if your deadline, if your target completion is 2008, then you start your right-of-way before the 2008. Now, the problem in Mindanao, Visayas interconnection was only brought to us, the NGCP, a year ago, na sinasabi na may problem dun sa golf course. Actually, the solution was very simple. Just transfer the towers or transfer the holes. And it was resolved with the interagency. Na-resolve naman siya kaagad. Hindi na pumunta sa korte to yun. But those are problems that can be resolved. That it is not in the, hindi naman yan obligasyon ng DOE, but we do go beyond our responsibility para matapos lang. Kasi everybody wins naman and everybody loses if it doesn't get constructed. Now, the second thing, Mr. Chair, is ang right-of-way issues kasi, we regularly write the Supreme Court to give priority to the cases of NGCP. We've done that, and it has, as you see, there was better progress in these past years. Pero, Mr. Chair, sometimes ang right-of-way nila, mga 5 taon din yung tagal Baka di ko alam paano nila ginagawa sa legal nila, but I don't think in lawyers it takes about 5 years. Now, the third part, Mr. Chair, is the applications eminent domain is under the name of NGCP. It should be under Transco. Kung government kasi yan, iba yung process and faster. So, mangyayari ngayon, there will be a private negotiation pa between NGCP and the landowner. So, that takes time. That's really the part that takes longer. And then the legal process, mas madali na sana yun kasi we can assist. We can certify that this is a project of national significance, and then it will be a faster process. So there are nuances in the franchise and in the concession agreement that can improve. But also there are provisions that are already there that kung sundin lang ng NGCP, siguro mas mabilis yung right-of-way process natin. But yes, again, we are quite thankful for NGCP for finishing it kahit delayed man siya, basta natapos lang. Although it had a major impact on the...
Mr. Chair. Very much, the Honorable.
Mr. Chair.
The chair recognizes the Senior Deputy Speaker, the Honorable Don Gonzales Jr. of the 3rd District of Pampanga. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
And from the 2nd District of Antipolo City, the Honorable Romy Acop. Welcome. And of course, si Ramon Rodriguez Gutierrez of One Rider. Welcome, Rog. We now proceed to the next speaker, the Honorable Presley
Mr. Chair,
Jesus. The Honorable
yes, just,
Senior, the
Thank
Honorable
you,
Stella Kimbo. The Honorable, meron nga palang interjection na
Just,
si the Honorable
quick
Kimbo.
interjection.
Yes.
With respect to the 3% franchise tax, I heard Chair De Malanta say that compliant naman po ang NGCP. However, based on our hearing last week, na nandun po kasi ako, at narinig ko po si Chair De Malanta mismo ang nagsabi na meron pong problema mula 2011 hanggang 2021. Hanggang 2022. Kasi po, maliwanag naman po sa batas na yun lang naman po ang katangi-tanging buwis na binabayad po ng NGCP. So yun po, franchise tax in lieu of all other taxes. Ibig sabihin po, hindi na po kailangan magbayad ng income tax, etc. ang NGCP. Therefore, hindi po dapat pinapass on to the consumers itong franchise tax. Kaya nga lang po, mula 2011 hanggang 2022, itong 3% franchise tax ay pinas on po sa ating consumers in the form of higher prices. Yun po ang naging finding ng ERC at yun po ay nireport po sa amin ni Chair De Malanta. Kaya po, tinanong po namin sa kanya, in which case, hindi ba dapat may in effect, kumbaga po, may utang ang NGCP sa kanyang customers in effect? Or this is something that we can actually debate and discuss. And tinanong namin kung magkano po ang kabuang amount na yan. Ang sabi po ni Chair De Malanta, if my memory serves me right, is 204 billion. Or sinabi ni Chair Joey, how much is that?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
With your permission, for the franchise tax, based on our calculations alone, Mr.
Please speak
Chair,
closer to the microphone, Chair.
on franchise tax, based on the information only that we have, because we also recommended that BIR weigh in also on the issue because they have the primary documents. It's 21 billion from 2016 to 2022. The 204, ma'am, is on the reset po yun. So just on franchise tax, 24. 21, sorry. 21 billion.
So from 2016,
2016.
from 2011
We
to
don't have
2015.
the information, Mr. Chair. That's why we recommended that BIR
So it's
also
at least 21 billion pesos. So, yun lang po, Mr. Chair.
So, in short, they're not compliant.
Exactly, Mr. Chair.
That's your point. They're
Yes,
not
Mr.
compliant. And they still owe government.
Or they were not compliant from 2011 up to 2022 with respect to the not passing of the 3% franchise tax to the consumers.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Stella Kimbo, the Senior Vice Chair of the Committee on Appropriations. So now, the Honorable Presley De Jesus.
Thank you,
Sir,
Mr.
point of order, Mr. Chairman.
The Honorable Dan Fernandez.
Do we have a list of those who will interpolate? Para atang 2 oras na po akong nakaupo
Ayaw,
dito,
wala.
hindi pa po ako natatawag. And I'm
I'm
number
so
3
sorry.
in the list,
The
Mr.
Honorable
Chairman.
Presley, I'm sorry.
Hindi, pero kung maikli lang po yan, it's okay.
Mr. Chair, I have only quick question to Yusek
So,
Sharon.
may sila naman yung sa'yo, no?
May
So, the
sila.
Honorable Dan Fernandez will yield to you. The Honorable Presley De Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Dan. Thank you. Again, Mr. Chair, maraming salamat sa inyo. No? I would like to ask Yusek Garin, no? with the good presentation kanina, you mentioned that there's couple of delays, no? Marami, di ba? So, yung mga delays ba yun, ano yun? Is it caused by the NGCP alone for not acting on time o maraming, remember, karamihan dyan, right of ways. We know that, Mr. Chair, right of way yan. Ang tanong ko, ilan ba dyan yung na sa korte na ngayon, kaya hindi nagpo-proceed yung mga ganyang projects? Meron bang ganon?
Mr. Chair, in the major projects, parang tapos na yata yung mga if there's a TRO or anything, no? Pero sa right-of-way, meron pa. Also, there are cases that have pending ERC approval also. So it's a combination of everything, Mr. Chair. Like yung sa Panay, there's an issue with the owner and also an issue with DNR. Kaya iba-iba yung reason, Mr. Chair. But the major ones, parang wala namang court case na na-present because ayaw ng owner, Mr. Chair.
So, in short, Mr. Chair, Yusek, no, hindi lang ito solely fault ng NGCP. Just to make it clear. Kasi sabi mo, may court, may pending sa court, at the same time, is under the review of ERC. So, it's a culmination of all, it's a combination na lahat. So, kasi, ang masama rito, I'm not trying to defend NGCP, no? We're trying to level the playing field. Kasi ang dating, laro, maraming nanonood sa atin, kasalanan ng NGCP kung bakit maraming delays. But straight from the horse's mouth, sabi mo, may problema ERC, may pending, at may mga court pang pending din sa korte. Am I right?
Mr. Chair, those are the reasons bakit nadidelay ang NGCP. But those are also their responsibilities to procure, Mr. Chair, based on their concession agreement and then franchise. Responsibility niyan as a transmission network provider and as a system operator. Historically, if you know that it's 2 years to get the right of way, then you apply it way back before the start of construction. So that is a matter of project planning, Mr. Chair. I don't know if how NGCP does that, but just to explain, Mr. Chair, once we focus on a project with NGCP and we go check what are the problems, it gets resolved naman, Mr. Chair. But we cannot handle all the problems naman. We just focus on the major. Halimbawa, Mindanao, Batangas, Mindoro interconnection. We had an audience with the governor and then introduced NGCP and DOE because they never got the appointment with the DNR or the LGU. So we facilitated kaya, ibig sabihin, these are not problems that are impossible to resolve. Kaya naman.
Yeah.
Nadidelay lang talaga sila.
Would you also agree, pag nagbago ang gobyerno, for example, the former secretary ng DOE, meron siyang gustong transmission development plan that was presented by NGCP. Now, papasok Secretary Tilla na nababago yung kanilang plan. Is there a chance na nangyari yon? Or kasi it was mentioned by Chairman Di Malanta na puro plano, bago-bago. So, wala bang continuity ito? Na kung ano yung pisang, since lahat naman tayo, this is very important, no? Everyone needs the transmission line in order for our generation na magamit lang yung transmission line. But the problem is, at the end of the day, ang mga consumers ang talo dito. You even mentioned that. So, we conduct this hearing. Ano ba talagang purpose natin? Paabayin ng presyo ng kuryente? Or we just blame one element of the energy family? Remember, NGCP is one of the elements lang yan. Nandyan transmission, generation, distribution, even the IMAP, nandyan lahat. Kompleto tayo. So, pag ito lang gusto natin pababayin ng presyo ng kuryente, ay kailangan lahat dito ma-involve, no? Right now, we have a motto proprio with regard to NGCP. I agree with Kong Rufus. Ano ba talagang purpose natin dito? No? Just the franchise ba? Paano natin tulungan? Remember, we're here in age of legislation. I think it's high time to review the IPIRA law. No? Kasi ang IPIRA law is the problem. No? Do you agree with me, Yusek? Kasi nandun lahat. You just follow the IPIRA law.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, the IPIRA is actually being reviewed and there is a first phase of revisions.
Yes, being
to actually
because
PSAM and
Kung
ERC.
Dagok and I are part of the
Yes, Mr.
revision
Chair.
of IPIRA law, kasama kayo ni Chairman. So, kailangan natin ayusin to,
Yes,
no?
sir.
My point is, in age of legislation, kailangan makapagpasa tayo ng batas. So, any suggestion that this committee will recommend sa Kongreso na mapagpasa kami ng batas kung paano mapabilis yung paggagawa ng transmission lang. Yun lang, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, we were called here for the franchise itself, Mr. Chair. So the decision whether there will be another law or there will be a review of the franchise, hindi na po ako congressman, I leave it to your wisdom.
Mr. Chair, anytime
Mr.
you appear
Chair.
in committee hearing, in aid of legislation lagi to.
Mr. Chairman,
It
Mr.
doesn't
Chair.
matter. So kailangan natin magpasa
Mr.
na
Chair.
talagang batas na talagang nararapat dito. So
Mr.
we cannot
Chair.
name blame.
Mr. Chair, can we follow our rules and proceed with the list of interpellators with due
Yeah.
courtesy to our good and very honorable colleague, Honorable President De Jesus? Meron kasing mga nakalista, Mr. Chair, and
Yes,
we can
ma'am.
interject if it is related to the direct question. But I believe we have to go back to the
Yes,
list
the Honorable,
to put order.
the Honorable Garin, it was really Prestige De Jesus, the Honorable Prestige De Jesus.
Ma'am, nagpalista
Siya ho-
ako
siya ho
eksakto
talaga ho nakalista ho.
1:11
The Honorable Dan
PM.
Fernandez yielded to the Honorable Prestige.
Mr.
Nagpalista
Chair,
ako kanina pa nga ako
So, it was
Yeah,
Honorable
I
Prestige.
understand, but I thought, Mr. Chair, the next interpolator was supposed to be Congressman Rufus,
No.
and then
Tapos na ho. Tapos na ho si Honorable Rufus.
and then the next interpolator will be.
The Honorable Prestige De Jesus. That's
Okay,
why he
and
has
the next
floor.
is,
The Honorable Dan
thought somebody
Fernandez.
nag-yield po si Kong Dan, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, because my understanding,
well,
Mr.
I
Chair,
yield
is you can.
for a couple of questions, no? But
Yes.
not for long.
Yeah, but well,
Yes.
just to put things in the, my
Yes.
apologies, Mr. Chair, but just to put things in the proper perspective, I believe if you are listed as an interpolator, you cannot just yield it to somebody else unless there's an interjection. With that, Mr. Chair, maybe if the Honorable Fernandez will yield his time to the Honorable Presley De Jesus, we don't have any objection.
Yes, he did. The Honorable Prestige, proceed.
I think
For
tapos
your
na
short
ako,
money,
baka-
are you done? The Honorable,
Yeah, I'm done
are
with
you
that.
Thank you very much, the Honorable
Now,
Prestige.
I want to be my name be listed in the second round.
Okay,
Just
thank
to
you.
make sure that my name will be recalled.
Thank you. You're now
Thank
in
you.
the second round, so that's clear. The Honorable Dan
Yeah,
Fernandez.
just-
Okay, are you going to say something?
Yes, point of order lang, Mr. Chair.
Because palitan na ho sila eh. Ang dapat nauna si Dan kay Prestige, but because kay Honorable Prestige, so nagpalitan na ho sila. Sila ho talaga magkasunod. Sila ho yung magkasunod. The Honorable Dan Fernandez.
Mr. Chair, with the indulgence of Congressman Dan, I have a point of order myself.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
What's your point of order?
The motion for the motu proprio is a motion that I filed. And it seems that it's been alluded to twice by our colleagues. I would have appreciated if they had objections to the motu proprio motion, they would have showed it in proper writing or opposed it. But insofar as it was able to garner enough support, then that is why we're pushing through with the motu proprio hearing to review the franchise of NGCP. The very nature why I pushed for this motion, Mr. Chair, is so that we can look into whether or not, number one, NGCP is complying with the franchise that has been provided to them by Congress. Number two is also to look into the efficiency of NGCP with regards to their performance in providing electricity to the Filipino people. So I don't think if there is a question of the wisdom behind the motu proprio inquiry into the franchise, I would have welcomed an opposition in my motion. But to push it forward during the hearing proper, I think it would just be proper, Mr. Chair, that we continue on with what is on the agenda, following what we have already approved as the agenda for the committee hearing, just so that we cannot lose track and focus of the very purpose of why we're here and waste time while our guests are here in front of us. And I'm sure they're also waiting for their opportune time to discuss this matter, Mr. Chair.
JJ Suarez. Definitely, this motu proprio hearing followed all the rules and with the permission of the Committee on Rules that this be done. So we have enough votes for this. So the Honorable Dan Fernandez is recognized. Silence requested.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Mr. Chairman. And the very reason why we are here right now, ay yung sinabi ni Congressman Presley is talagang maibaba yung presyo ng transmission rate. And that's the reason why we've been fighting this for so many years. As a matter of fact, noong 2019 pa, pinaglalaban na po natin itong reset na kung saan ay 2011 ang last recorded na rate reset. And it's been like 13 years. Hanggang ngayon, wala pa po. And that's the reason why we're asking why. Di ba? Bakit hindi nagkakaroon ng panibagong set ng rates para sa transmission? And kung mapapababa natin ang lahat ng mga building blocks that the ERC is now evaluating through the RAAC and the NCL, like the return on capital, the CAPEX, the opening RUB, the regulatory asset base, and even the depreciation on the capital, on the return of capital, at even the operating and maintenance expenses, I'm pretty sure, ito pong ating pong hearing na to, magkakaroon ng positibong resulta sa pagbaba ng kuryente ng transmission rate ng ating pong bansa. Now, magsimula po muna tayo dito, Mr. Chairman. Ang tatanungin ko po ay ang NGCP regarding doon po sa inyong IPO na in the last hearing, I mentioned about this IPO. Ano po ba yung legal obligation ng NGCP regarding the public offering na binabanggit ng provision ng ating pong batas? Attorney Malyari, you can answer this.
Your Honor, may I open our franchise law? Just give me 30 seconds.
Sure. Simple lang po yun, Attorney Malyari. It's about the franchise law under Section 8. Okay, ako na lang mag-mention, Attorney Malyari. So under Section 8, ang mandato po ng ating pong NGCP is to offer sa public yung ating pong share of stock. At ito po ay within 10 years from the commencement of its operation. At kung ating pong pagbabasihan yung commencement ng inyong pong operation, nagsimula po kayo noong January 15, 2009. At yung pong inyong statutory deadline ay natapos noong January 14, 2019. Ngayon po ay January 14, 6 years ago. Doon po natapos yung inyo pong deadline para po sa tinatawag mo nating pagpasok po ninyo sa IPO na siya pong tinakda ng Section 8 under Republic Act 9511. So ngayon, Attorney Malyari, I will be asking you a question. Why is this public offering requirement was imposed by law? Ano po ba yung sinasabi nating purpose behind it? Bakit tayo minamandato ng public offering?
Your Honor, as to the wisdom of the legislation, it will be this honorable representation that may be able to expound that because it is indeed written in our franchise. So, bakit minamandato na
tayo po ay mag-IPO? Kasi kung titingnan mo po, Attorney Malyari, halos lahat ng mga public utilities, minamandato yan na mag-IPO tayo. I-share natin sa public yung ating pong pag-aari ng ating pong entity dahil public utility to. So, the very rationale of our Constitution under Section 2 of Article 4, Article 12 of the 1987 ay magkaroon ng equity yung ating mga mamayan. To be more transparent, magkaroon tayo ng accountability, and at the same time, yung ownership at yung operation, somehow operation, ay mapapunta sa ating mga kababayan. Most especially, ang ating pong transmission is a natural monopoly. Ang ibig sabihin po ay wala po siyang kakompetensya. And that's the reason why, kung wala siyang kakompetensya, kailangan siya ng partisipasyon ng ating pong mga kababayan. Now, I will be asking you again, Attorney Malyari, are there entities in the energy sector or elsewhere na masabi natin that the public offering is also being provided. Meron po ba kayong alam that yung mga public utilities are sharing their ownership to the public?
Your Honor, top of my head, I apologize. I am not aware
Sige,
of other public utilities.
okay,
Top of my
sa
head.
ERC, meron po ba tayo alam na mga public utilities? ERC Commissioner, Chairman Dimalanta?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In fact, the EPIRA requires, under its current form, EPIRA requires generation companies, distribution utilities, as well as for individual franchises, like for telecoms, for example, they have public listing requirement.
Correct. Under Republic Act 79-25, yung ating pong mga public telecommunications mandates na to offer at least 30% sa IPO. At ito pong ating Maynilad, nung ating pong inaprubahan ng kanilang renewal ng kanilang concession agreement, pumasok din po yung kanilang IPO. And even the Manila Water, ito po yung sinasabi ko in the last hearing, yung pong kanilang mga empleyado, no, sayang wala si Attorney Cynthia, pero during that time, sa hearing, sinabi ko na ang Maynilad, ito pala yun, yung ESOP, Employee Stock Option Plan, na kung saan binigyan nila ng share ang kanilang mga empleyado, which dapat yun po ang ginawang una ng NGCP kung talagang mahal nila ang kanilang mga employees. Now, tama si Chairman Mona that under the EPIRA law, yung ating pong Republic Act 9136, 15% doon sa ating mga distribution utilities. And isa pang batas na nagsasabi dito ay Republic Act number 8479. Ito po yung Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act of 1998 na inaalaw na mapapunta sa public yung 10% of their common stock. Now, ang tanong ko sa iyo, Attorney Malyari, did NGCP meet the legal requirement for an IPO within 10 years from the grant of its franchise?
Your Honor, I would like to read, now that I was able to open the Section 8 of NGCP Franchise RA 9511, dispersal of ownership, Mr. Chair, two ways, Mr. Chair. One is to make a public offering of the shares representing at least 20% of the outstanding capital stock or higher percentage that may hereafter be provided by law. And there's another, Mr. Chair, provided that the listing in the PSE of any company which directly or indirectly owns or controls at least 30% of the outstanding shares of stock of the grantee shall be considered full compliance.
All right. So, tatanungin lang kita, Attorney Malyari. Simple lang yung tanong ko. Did NGCP meet the legal requirement for an IPO within the 10 years period that was mentioned in Section 8, Republic Act 9511? Yes or no?
Your Honor, our legal position is yes.
Yes, your
pursuant to
legal
the-
position is yes. Correct. Now, nung November 13, 2018, para maintindihan po ng ating mga kasamahan at mga nanonood sa atin, para at least maging klaro po. Kasi dito, ako ipaglalaban ko that you have violated Section 8, Republic Act 9511. But in your contention, in your statement a while ago, you have mentioned that in May 26, 2022, the order of the ERC was that NGCP was compliant with Section 8. But that was in contrast with the decision of the ERC on March 10, 2021, when they rejected your motion for reconsideration when you filed a petition on November 13, 2018. Now, ang tanong ko sa iyo, Attorney Malyari, ano ang final nyo nung November 13, 2018 sa ERC with regards to this listing of share of stock of the NGCP?
Mr. Chair, I am not the counsel that personally
Who is the proper person to answer my query?
Mr. Chair, can you just give me one minute, Mr. Chair?
Okay, para padadaliin ko na to. Alam ko naman sagot sa mga tanong ko. I just wanted to find out if you know my questions. Now, November 13, 2018, barely 2 months prior to the statutory deadline that was set by the franchise law that was given to NGCP, nag-file kayo ng petition for the approval of the extension of the period for listing of the shares of stock of the NGCP. Under this petition, ang inyong prayer ay ma-extend po yung period ng listing ng inyong pong shares of stock. Are you familiar with this?
Now that you're mentioning, Mr. Chair, I'm taking your word as is,
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Now, tanong ko sa commission, ERC. Wala pa si Mona Lisa dito. Siguro ang tatanungin ko dito ay si Ma'am Commissioner Maceda. Ma'am, thank you for being here. Ano po naging aksyon ng komisyon on this petition for extension of the listing of shares of stock of NGCP?
If it's the November 2018 motion to extend actually, there was a prayer actually to extend the period for listing of shares of stock of NGCP. The decision of the Commission was adopted March 3, 2020, as you mentioned, Your Honor, and the decision was to deny such motion to extend the period to comply with the public listing requirement.
So, ang kanilang prayer prior to the deadline noong listing ng share of stocks ng NGCP in accordance with Section 8 ay dininay noong March 3, 2020. Am I correct?
I confirm that, Your Honor.
And what are the other directive of the NGCP or of the ERC to the NGCP regarding doon po sa process ng public listing?
Yes, sir. If I may just read the pertinent portion of the order, Your Honor.
Yes, please, go ahead.
This is the order dated 3 March 2020 on the public offering requirement. Wherefore, the foregoing premises considered, the petition filed by the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, seeking the Commission's approval of its proposed extension of period to list its shares of stock in compliance with RA 9511, is hereby denied and is directed to comply with the following. Number 1, NGCP is directed to commence immediately the process of public listing pursuant to RA 9511 and to fully comply with the same within 6 months from receipt of the decision. Second, NGCP is hereby directed to submit a compliance report showing its compliance with its public listing obligation within 30 days from the said compliance. So ordered.
So in
Dated
other
3
words,
March.
Madam Maceda, there was a directive from the Commission for NGCP to immediately comply with the process of publicly listing.
I confirm that, Your Honor.
Sila po ba ay nag-submit ng compliance report na binabanggit nyo sa order ninyo? Within 30 days, sinabi po dito, to submit a compliance report.
From my recollection, Your Honor, they submitted a motion for reconsideration, and it was filed within the time frame as provided under our rules.
All right. That I understand. Okay. We will go on that, Madam Maceda. Punta mo muna tayo bago tayo pumunta sa motion for reconsideration. Doon sa petition nila no November 13, 2018, was there any representation from NGCP that it will be pursuing a share swap transaction as a form of compliance with the public listing requirement under Section 8 of Republic Act 9511? Was there any mention of the share swap? Noong November 2018, 2 months prior to the statutory deadline of January 14, 2019.
There was no mention of that, Your Honor.
No mention. Okay. In March 3, 2020, the,
Your Honor, if I may, Your Honor.
yes, go ahead.
Just to add, in our deliberations, there was no mention at all of a share swap agreement, but
Ma'am, can you speak louder, please? And Ma'am Mona Lisa, can you kindly turn off your mic, please?
from our discussions, Your Honor, the share swap transaction was never discussed during the deliberations of the commission. But I've been perusing through the order that was issued, and I note here that from the evidences submitted actually by the applicant, there was an indication that they had abandoned the share swap, no?
I was about to go there. Excuse me, madam. Because I have read all the documents that I gotten in the website of the ERC, and even the partial initial determination and also the draft of final determination. I got all these copies. And it's here with me. And I've read about it. Ma'am, ang tanong ko po, hindi ko alam kung nandun kayo sa hearing. During nung dinidiscuss po itong news report na sinasabi mo, entitled, noong November 17, 2010, by ABS-CBN News, entitled, C. Junior Cojuto may raise funds for NGCP via backdoor listing, was among the exhibits submitted by NGCP, and the stated purpose of its submission based on the decision was to prove that the attempt at backdoor listing was abandoned in 2016. So ito po yung minimension nyo, no? That they have the intention to abandon the share swap because there was a due adverse decision from the BIR regarding the tax-free status of the transaction. And as a matter of fact, doon sa Annex G, no, na nakuha ko rin po doon sa inyo pong documents coming sa website, news report posted on the website of the DOE on March 1, 2016, entitled C. Cojuto Cancel Share Swap Deal for Synergy Grid, also submitted to ng NGCP. May I know? Siguro sa NGCP. May I know, NGCP, what this adverse ruling of the BIR is all about? Kasi inabandon po niyo yung share swap noong 2020 Anong, yes.
May I know the year, Your Honor? 2016?
The NGCP attempt the backdoor listing noong 2016. Pero inabandon po nila at pagkatapos po, kinancel na po nila yung share swap. Pero dito po, nakikita po natin na ibinalik natin yung share swap. You abandon the share swapping methodology because here sa submission nyo po sa ERC, you have mentioned the adverse ruling of the BIR. So, ang tinatanong ko po, ano po yung adverse ruling ng BIR about doon po sa tax-free status of this transaction?
Your Honor, I have no information insofar as that one, but given we will provide, Your Honor, we'll look in our files, Your Honor.
Attorney, are you the proper person to be representing NGCP? Kasi kanina ko pa napapansin, lahat paiwas yung tanong sagot nyo
Your Honor, hindi po sa umiiwas
Because this
ako.
is one of the alleged violation that was committed by NGCP. Section 8 of Republic Act 9511, we discussed that in the last hearing. And this issue, we tackled in the last hearing. Mabigat po itong allegation sa inyo. And this may cause your revocation of the franchise of NGCP. Don't you know that?
Your Honor, I am very much aware of the gravity of what we're...
So bakit hindi po kayo nagsama ng mga taong may alam sa sitwasyon ng mga bagay na tinatanong po ng mga members of this committee? Anyway, I hope that next time na po, sana po, mapadala po yung mga tamang tao. ERC, wouldn't you say that it was apparent for this evidence kanina na binanggit po natin that yung pong submitted voluntarily by NGCP, kasi sila po nag-submit nito that they had abandoned the share swap as an alternative to the public listing requirement.
Your Honor, I'm looking at the order of March 3, 2020, and yes, I confirm that there's an enumeration of exhibits or evidences submitted to us, and among them, as you had mentioned earlier, I think that's Annex G and Annex D.
Yes.
Yes, it appears in our order that NGCP submitted that, and that there was a notation that the attempt at backdoor listing was abandoned in 2016 due to an adverse BIR ruling regarding the tax-free status of the transaction. I don't recall this being questioned by NGCP in its motion for reconsideration.
So, ang tanong natin sa NGCP with that, kino-confirm mo, NGCP, did you comply with the directives of the Commission on its decision dated March 3, 2020, na kung saan sinasabi, ano na po tayo, pumasok na po tayo sa IPO, mag-IPO na tayo dahil lang sinasabi ng Section 8. Nag-comply po ba kayo?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, now that I have here some documentation in order to support what I will be stating now, may I be allowed to make some chronology, Your Honor?
Sige, go ahead.
Apo. Your Honor,
Attorney
13
Malyari,
November.
address the chair, please. Do you have a presentation, or is that just something you're going to read from your cell phone?
Wala pong presentation, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
please proceed.
Your Honor, you have mentioned the 13th November 2018. So NGCP filed a petition on 13 November 2018 before the ERC for the approval of the extension of the period for the listing of shares of stock of NGCP.
Correct.
These are the reasons cited, Your Honor. First, there's a pending arbitration case and there's a delayed regulatory reset. Second reason, Your Honor, period provided is merely directory. Third, no implementing rules for Section 8 of RA 9511. And the fourth, the timing of public offering is addressed to the discretion of the Board of Directors in the exercise of sound business judgment. So ang prayer po sa nabanggit niyo po na 13 November 2018, ang prayer po ni NGCP ay 1, approve the extension, and 2, grant an extension of 1 year from 14 January 2019 or upon final resolution of the arbitration case. Ngayon po tama sila, nagkaroon ng desisyon si ERC noong 03 March 2020. It was issued on 27 April 2020. Dito po dininay ni ERC ang petition for extension as Coma Seda has stated. And that, ito po yun, Mr. Chair, NGCP is directed to commence the IPO obligation within 6 months from receipt of the decision.
Correct.
And that NGCP now is directed to submit compliance report within 30 days from compliance of public listing. Dito po sa desisyon na ito, due process, nag-file po si NGCP ng motion for reconsideration dated 19 August 2020. Tapos ngayon po, si ERC, in its order dated 10 March 2021, umabot na po ba tayo dito, Your
Di ba?
Honor?
Wala pa.
Sige po.
Nag-advance ka
Sige
na. Okay. Alright. So, now you confirm, no, that nag-apply kayo 2 months prior to the deadline. And then, nagdesisyon ng ERC, sinabi ng ERC, denied yung extension nyo. So, nakalampas na yung deadline nung inyo pong statutory requirement na sinasabi dapat within 10 years, nag-IPO na kayo. And on January 28, an urgent motion was filed by the NGCP to the Commission nung progress in moving the IPO forward. Nag-file kayo ng urgent motion sa Commission at sinabi nyo, oy, ERC, eto na, magsisimula na kami ng process ng IPO. Correct, attorney? At nung March 10, ayan na, papunta na tayo sa sinasabi mo. On March 2021, yung motion for reconsideration nyo was finally denied by the ERC. At inutusan kayo ng ERC to commence the initiation of the requirement of Section 8, Republic Act 9511. Simulan na po ninyo ang IPO. At within 6 months, you have to report monthly to the ERC nung inyo pong accomplishment. Now, ang tanong ko sa iyo, would you consider this order final and executory that this resolve, the MR filed by the NGCP? Sa tingin mo ba, this is a final and executory? Yes or no?
Your Honor,
Wait, sagutin mo muna, Attorney Malyari. Ang tanong ko na simple. Nag-file kayo ng petition, prayer for extension, na denied, tapos according sa rules ng procedure and practices of the ERC, isang beses lang magmo-motion for reconsideration. Sabi sa rules will you confirm this, Mona Lisa, that according sa rules of procedure and practices of the ERC, isang beses ka lang magmo-motion for reconsideration. Then, you were denied sa motion for reconsideration. Ngayon, ang tanong ko, final na ba yun and executory?
in the same order, Your Honor.
No, wait. I'm asking you. Yes or no?
Yes, Your Honor, and we were given 6 months.
Wait. Before you explain, let me hear your answer. So I'm asking you, final and executory na po ba yun? Yes or no?
Opo.
Okay, yes. Now you can explain.
And in the same order, okay po. So, tuloy ko lang po yung chronology. So, in the ERC order dated 10 March 2021, which was received on 14 March 2021, the ERC denied NGCP's MR of the decision dated 3 March 2020, and that the following are maintained by the ERC in its ruling. Among others, NGCP was given 6 months from receipt of the order instead of the receipt of the 3 March 2020 to complete the public listing process or on before November 10, 2021.
Yes,
At dito
okay.
rin po, in order po kami to submit a compliance report every fifth po of the month for the 6-month compliance.
Alright, thank you. So at least klaro po na binanggit po natin, nagkaroon na ng order na final and executory yung pong desisyon ng March 10, 2021 ng ERC. Now, and it was directing the NGCP to complete its compliance with the IPO requirements until the successful listing thereof. Yun ang sinabi ng ERC . At dito, hindi sinabi. It did not say any IPO or any alternative thereto as may be allowed under the law. So ngayon, ang tanong ko sa Commission, what was the basis of the Commission in explicitly requiring an IPO and not just an alternative? Ito sa mga majority who have decided dito, siguro tatanungin ko si Puentes, si Commissioner Puentes. Commissioner Puentes,
Yes, Your Honor.
ano naging basis ninyo? What was the basis of the Commission in explicitly requiring an IPO and not just an alternative thereto? Bakit nyo ni-require ng IPO ang NGCPO? At yun na sinabi nyo. Sabi nyo, walang extension. Motion for reconsideration, denied. Final and executory. Tapos sabi nyo, proceed with the IPO. Within 6 months, dali ng listing sa ERC. Bakit yun po naging desisyon na require nyo sila ng IPO?
Your Honor, yung
At
sa...
walang ibang alternative. Yun ang desisyon nyo. Walang ibang alternative. Bakit yun ang desisyon nyo?
Your Honor, yung sa IPO naman, nakasaad naman yung sa batas. And then there was deliberation wherein this was presented to us and That is why we
Hindi ang
came up with
tinatanong
that
ko,
decision.
Commissioner Puentes, malayo na yung sinasagot mo. Ang tinatanong ko, bakit nyo ni-require sila ng IPO? Kasi dito, sa decision nyo, sa March 10, 2021, nire-require nyo sila na mag-IPO na. At nagkaroon nga sila ng urgent motion noong January 28, 2021 eh. Ini-inform ang commission na sinasabi niya, oh, ERC, andito na kami. Nagpo-progress na yung aming nagpo-progress na yung aming IPO. Ha? At as a matter of fact, according sa inyong decision na binasa ko, they have already, ito ang sinabi ng NGCP, for your information, take note that the commission acknowledged NGCP's good faith effort to comply with the IPO requirement, citing the following actions. Ito na yung mga ginawa nila action para sa IPO. Engagement of financial advisor, shortlisting of joint global coordinators, finalization of acquisition of legal counsel, submission of a detailed grant chat with timelines, and commitment to fully onboard external advisors. And additionally, Commissioner Puentes, ito ang inyong inimbestigahang witness na galing mismo sa NGCP, si Mr. Eduardo Francisco, who is an expert. Expert siya sa IPO. At sinabi ni Eduardo P. Francisco, who stated that NGCP required more time as the NGCP IPO will be unprecedented in terms of scale. Do you remember this, Commissioner Prentes, Commissioner Digal, Commissioner Lumbatan? Do you remember this?
Reply.
Mr. Chair, Your Honors, if I may be recognized to respond. Yes. For the record.
Recognized. Thank you.
Yes, Chair. I am Commissioner Digal of the ERC po. Yes, Mr. Chair, Your Honors, we do remember that we have considered several inputs of consultants then on the public offering of NGCP in deciding whether or not they were compliant.
So, you are gearing toward the IPO with your March 10, 2021 decision.
I think the wordings in the order referred to public...
Tanong ko sa iyo, Commissioner Digal, you are gearing toward IPO with your decision of March 10, 2021. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
And if I may explain...
Yes, go ahead.
Because the documents then submitted to our offices and the position or arguments of the NGCP then they were already starting and they have made studies on conducting it.
Correct. And as a matter of fact, tama yung sinabi mo. Ito ang sinabi nyo. Sabi nyo, the March 10, 2021 order of the Commission was also very clear in stating that other activities were included by the BDO Capital to ensure a successful IPO and not merely the listing of such with the PSE. So in other words, eto na eh. Nagsisimula na sila ng IPO. Di ba? Noong March 10, 2021. So ang ibig po sabihin, kung nagsisimula na po sila ng IPO, which you all relied on the statements of the NGCP, ang tanong ko sa NGCP, did the IPO proceed?
Your Honor,
Sagutin mo muna, Attorney Malyari. Did the IPO proceeded?
may interlocutory, Your Honor.
No. Tanong mo muna, yes or no lang, tapos saka mo explain. Did the IPO proceeded?
The IPO...
Yes or no?
Sorry, Your Honor, I'm trying to make
Yes
a
or
complete
no,
sentence.
then explain.
The
Tuloy
IPO
po ba-
as contemplated
Wait.
under...
Hindi tayo magkakaintindihan hanggang hindi mo muna sinasagot ang aking katanungan. Did the IPO proceeded? Yes or no?
As contemplated in the order, hindi po. And if I may explain.
Hindi.
The answer.
Hindi sa order. Ang tinatanong ko, kasi in-orderan kayo, di ba? Na proceed with the IPO. Kasi nga, nag-witness kayo eh. Ang sabi ni Eduardo Francisco, yung inyong expert, nagpo-proceed na po kami sa IPO. Nasa initial stage na po kami. And we will be earning or we will have investor like $1 billion coming from the different investor. So ngayon, nandito po report eh. Nabasa ko lahat eh. At ang sinasabi nyo, nasa stage na kayo ng IPO. Ang tinatanong ko, nag-proceed ba kayo sa IPO? Sabi mo, no. Di ba? Then now, explain.
Your Honor, ituloy ko lang po yung chronology. After the ERC order dated 10 March 2021, NGCP now filed a motion for clarification to allow...
Wait. Darating tayo sa motion for clarification. Ang tinatanong ko lang muna, explain mo muna yung... kasi hindi kayo nag-proceed sa IPO. Sabi mo, no, you did not proceed with the IPO. So why? Explain.
Ito na nga po, because we wanted to be clarified whether we can be allowed insofar as the alternative mode under Section 8 of RA 9511.
Okay.
So, ang tanong po nila, Your Honor, is, did the IPO proceeded as contemplated under ERC order dated 10 March 2021? Ang response po namin ay, dun nga po sa interim na yon, nag-file po si NGCP ng motion for clarification to allow the alternative mode under Section 8 of 9511, which is, yun nga po yung...
Wait, Attorney Malyari.
Yes po.
What is the motion for clarification all about? If there was a decision by the commission denying your petition, and then you filed a motion for reconsideration, and that was also denied, the motion for clarification should be on the decision of the denial, not on the alternative mode of the requirement that is being set by Section 8 of Republic Act 9511.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should allow the focus of this inquiry, the NGCP, to fully explain. Because once there was the decision that they are going to have IPO, Section 8 provides an alternative remedy. That's the second proviso, which I read.
Sir,
Provided that the listing in the PSA of any company which directly or indirectly owns. So can we allow the NGCP to finish? Because if we keep on interjecting, we don't have the whole defense of the NGCP.
Mr. Chairman,
so I'm asking that,
Mr. Chairman,
kasi so many times,
I'm questioning the resource person, and I'm satisfied already with the answer that she was manifesting. Okay na sa akin yun, Mr. Chairman, basta sumagot siya ng
Mr. Chair,
tinatanong
the
ko.
Honorable Rufus,
1 minute
this is the time of the Honorable Dan Fernandez. And we will now, I think, NGCP, I understand your sentiments, Honorable Rufus, but I think, we will also have to make sure that the answers are straight to the point. No? I think ang hinihingi ni Dan, ni Kong Dan, ay yes or no, tapos magpaliwanag. Yan naman
Chairman,
ang hinihingi niya. Para mapabilis ho tayo. The Honorable Dan, can you please proceed?
With all due respect
Okay.
with Congressman Rufus, I'm asking direct answer. I'm asking direct answer. And then I am letting her to explain. And then
Yes.
I don't know where the good gentleman is coming from na hindi ko inaalaw na magsalita yung ating pong resource person. As a matter of fact, sabi ko, sige, explain. Di ba?
Okay. So this is still the time of the Honorable Dan Fernandez. So you have the floor, the Honorable Dan. Proceed.
Okay, so nung March 10, nagkaroon ng final decision na denied na po yung inyo pong petition, prayer for the extension. On August 11, 2021, may order that was issued by then Chairperson of ERC, Agnes de Banadera, saying that the Commission's order on March 10, 2021, ito, you listen, ha? Ang sabi ni Commissioner Agnes de Banadera, okay? The Commission's order dated March 10, 2021 should not be taken as allowing or prohibiting any mode of ownership dispersal allowed under the law to be undertaken by NGCP as this was not an issue in the entire proceedings. In other words, hindi po siya issue to tackle about this dispersal ownership doon sa petition that you filed on November 18, 2018. So, nung mag-lapse na yung period nung January 14, 2019, at your motion for reconsideration was denied, and you were ordered to proceed with the IPO, and then you did not proceed with the IPO, then, Mr. Chairman, I believe that there was a violation of Section 8. Now, nung May 26, 2022, eto na po yung sinasabi po ninyo, that another order was issued, this time, by all the members of the commission, with one dissent, si Commissioner Maceda, declaring that NGCP has complied with the dispersal of ownership provided under Section 8 of Republic Act number 9511 based on SGP's indirect ownership of 40.20% of the outstanding capital stock of the NGCP. Now, may I know from the member of the majority who have decided, who reached this conclusion, dun sa March 2021 order, sinabi nyo, they have explicitly directed NGCP to complete its compliance with the initial public offering requirements until the successful listing thereof. Now, you have decided, dito po sa May 26, 2022, pwede po bang malaman anong naging reason ng ating pong tatlong commissioner? Wait, Mr. Chairman, I still have the floor.
No, I have an interjection because the best evidence of what was the reason of their majority decision is the document and the decision itself. We cannot be again asking them on this particular forum.
Mr. Chairman,
The best way is to find out, to have it read by the Secretary, that decision.
Mr. Chairman.
Because that is already the best evidence rule, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Yes.
Can I ask Commissioner, sino pa bang hindi nakakasagot? Lumbatan. So, what is your reason for this? Kasi nagdesisyon na kayo nung na, okay, March 10, 2021, IPO na tayo. Proceed na kayo. And then suddenly, nung May 26, 2022, sinasabi nyo na, hindi na, compliant na kayo. Meron na kayong pwede na kayo sa share swap. While sinabi nyo doon sa mga investigation nyo and hearings that were conducted by the NGCP, by the ERC, that share swap was already abandoned. And as a matter of fact, kasama nyo si Mr. Francisco doon at sinasabi niya, nagpo-proceed na sila sa initial process of the IPO. Now, what is the reason or what is the explanation on this matter?
Thank you, Your Honor. Chair, if I may be recognized to respond to the
Yes, go ahead.
to the question.
Ay, boss.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Lumbatan, right?
That is correct,
Please.
Mr.
You're
Chair. Thank you very much. We have specified in our 10 March 2021 order, we have specified IPO because it was NGCP who elected to pursue the first mode of compliance, which is the public listing or the IPO. So, pinanghawakan ho namin yung sinasabi nila na mag-IPO kami. And thereafter, they were asking for extension to conduct or to comply with the IPO. Ngayon, ang sinasabi ho namin, hindi. Ngayon na kagad, gawin na ninyo. Now, we have arrived at the 26 May 2022 decision because prior to that, they have filed a motion for clarification, asking the Commission, if we have elected earlier IPO, are we now prohibited again to choose the alternative, which is the public listing of a company having at least 30% control of the company? The majority decision of the Commission, composed of myself, Commissioner Fuentes, and Commissioner Digal, including the former chair, Agnes de Vanadero, was that by earlier electing to pursue IPO, you did not necessarily abandon the alternative mode of compliance. And so, ang sabi ho namin, sige, dahil nga ito ang sinasabi sa franchise law ninyo, you may utilize the alternative mode. So, in May in 22 May or 26 May 2022.
Pero Commissioner Lumbatan, if
Opo.
I may, no, I got your point. Will you agree with me that the petition that was filed 2 months prior to the statutory deadline noong January 14, 2019, deadline na ang petition nila is for the extension of the period of listing of the shares of stock of NGCP.
Opo.
Wala silang sinabing share swap.
Wala po.
Correct. Kung wala sila sinabing share swap, yung alternative mode of the requirements of the Section 8, nag-expire yung January 14, 2019 na deadline. Di ba? Kaya nga nyo binigyan sila ng extension eh. Bigyan nyo sila ng extension twice, 6 months, para to complete the process of the IPO. But they did not. Correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
Now, yun nga ang tanong ko dito eh. The sudden as a matter of fact dito, kay Commissioner Digal, no? Doon sa urgent manifestation nila, sinabi mo that NGCP is also, kasi nga, I think there was a deception in here because ang sabi mo, Commissioner Digal, NGCP is also finalizing the engagement of legal counsels for the IPO and expect to finally onboard all external advisors for WID. Wala namang mention ng share swap eh. January 28, 2020, 2021 na to. So, ibig sabihin, hindi pinag-uusapan ng share swap. Di ba? Will you confirm that you have said this? Kino-confirm mo lang na, IPO na. Di ba? Tama, Commissioner Digal?
If that is what is in the order, Chair.
Yeah. And ganun din kay Puentes, Commissioner Puentes. Ang sinabi din ni Commissioner Puentes, for the record lang, para at least we have the basis for all of this. Ang sabi ni Commissioner Puentes, the IPO, ito, base do sa desisyon na nandito, the IPO will be a singular opportunity both for the investing public and for NGCP. And the company seeks full and unhampered chance without pressure of constricted timelines under the pandemic to realize it. So again, there were walang mention ng share swap eh. Wala eh. No, the representation made by NGCP through this urgent motion and motion as well as the hearings conducted spoke lamang of the progress of the IPO. Yun lamang po ang pinag-uusapan. Now, kanina, dito po sa final order ng ERC, directing NGCP to complete its initial public offering within 6 months have become final and unappealable. Tanungin ko si Commissioner Maceda, since ikaw ay kasama doon sa mga nagdesisyon, naging final na po ba yung March 10, 2021 order ng ERC directing the NGCP to proceed with the IPO?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for that question. I wasn't present actually when the Commission adopted the order of March 10, 2021. I was on leave on that day, Your Honor. But based on the rules of practice and procedure of the Commission, there can only be one motion for reconsideration. And once the Commission has ruled on such motion for reconsideration, the decision is final and executory. Unless, of course, the petitioner files for certiorari before the courts, which they did not do.
So, meaning walang timely appeal or for certiorari or something?
Wala po sa records namin yan. Instead, we got a motion for clarification po.
So, the order became immutable, in other words?
It's a final order, Your Honor, based on our rules of practice and procedure.
So, yung NGCP's subsequent request for clarification, was it a, parang kasi, it's not merely an inquiry eh. Parang ang feeling ko, nung binabasa ko, parang effectively, they are suit to alter the decision eh. Because they injected the share swap, after which the motion for reconsideration was denied. And then motion for clarification, to clarify the decision of the motion for reconsideration, then suddenly, the clarification deals with the decision making. Am I correct?
I issued a dissenting opinion, Your Honor, so my answer will be very biased. I would tend to agree with that observation. Because once we issue a final order arising from a motion for reconsideration, and such order is very specific as to the directives, we cannot change what's in that order when we clarify questions, let's say from petitioners. But in this case, Your Honor, there was an order for a very specific mode of public offering, which is through initial public offering. Naka-indicate po dun sa order kasi yun. So, given that, if there was a motion for clarification, the Commission should clarify on the basis of that directive to initiate the IPO.
Correct.
And not to say you can undertake
Alternative.
any other form, alternative form of public
And
offering.
that's the reason why I'm asking, kasi nga, that was the recourse that was done by the NGCP. The motion for clarification. The motion for clarification is to clarify the decision for the motion for reconsideration that was denied. But there was what do you call that? Parang amendment of the decision by inserting if they can have an alternative mode of the requirements of the section 8. But anyway, ano ba ang difference, Madam ERC? What's the difference between the share swap? Para at least maintindihan po ng ating mga kababayan. What is the difference between the share swap, transactions, and on the other hand, the IPO? Kasi yan ang requirement ng Section 8 yung IPO But there was a provision there also, a word there, na sinasabi, provided. Di ba? Yung provided na yan, we need to explain and to clarify. Di ba? So, ang tanong, ma'am, anong difference ng share swap and the IPO that is being mandated? Kung titignan mo ang kabuuan ng Section 8, ang body ng provision is IPO. IPO. Di ba? So, can you kindly explain to us the share swap and the IPO?
ERC, who would like to respond to the question of the Honorable Dan?
Thank you, Your
The
Honor.
Honorable Maceda?
Yes. My understanding of a initial public offering is such that you widely disseminate such information for public offering to give chance to the public, that's why it's called initial public offering, a chance to own a part of the stakes in that company. So there's wide dissemination. A share swap agreement is more of a transaction between private entities. So the question is, does that satisfy the public offering requirement in the Section 8 of RA 9511? I guess it's to a certain extent, the Securities and Exchange Commission, perhaps that can also help qualify that. But mainly, if you talk about what is the directive in the order, it's definitely initial public offering. That's the order of March 10, 2021. No mention of the share swap, as of course, also my fellow commissioners also confirmed earlier on. So when this came in under the motion for clarification, for me, as the dissenting commissioner, the number one question was, is that in compliance with the final order of the Commission of March 10, 2021? And for me, it is not in compliance with the final order of the Commission of March 10, 2021.
Okay.
Please, the Honorable Dan Fernandez.
Okay, malapit na po to, Mr. Chairman, but I still have a lot of issues, pero mamaya na lang po after ng mga members who would like to ask as well. So, doon po sa Section 8, maliwanag to sa mga commissioners po, no, na who have decided on this matter. Kasi medyo may, medyo Can we correct the error that was done? Because, Chairman Mona Lisa, the ERC decided on the franchise tax, the 3% franchise tax under Resolution number 7 of 2011 to pass through it to the consumer. But on your decision, on 2023, Resolution number 10, sinasabi doon na hindi na. Hindi na pass through sa consumer. Di ba? Now, you reverse the decision of the ERC. Question, can we reverse that May 2022 decision of the ERC regarding that? Kasi kung titignan mo yung decision ng May 22, May 16, 2022, masyadong baliktad doon sa desisyon ng ERC regarding sa pag-proceed sa IPO. Tanong, ma'am, can you do the same?
We can study the matter, Mr. Chair. The matter of the franchise tax is a bit different because it's a continuing collection for, continuing obligation to, or continuing authority that was given to NGCP to collect. So what we did was to suspend that authority by issuing another resolution. But this one is a case that was decided already and made final by the commission. But we can study it, Mr. Chair, because I myself, I have questions also.
Yes, ito madam, I will cite you on a Supreme Court decision regarding the proviso, the word proviso. The Office of Proviso, ang ibig sabihin ng provided na sinasabi nila dito, no? Kasi nga, ang sinasabi sa Section 8, yung public offering, kumbaga, ito yung pinakabuod nung provision na to, yung public offering, mag-initial public offering kayo. Di ba? Para may partisipasyon ng taong bayan. Ang problema, hindi Sila-sila rin din may-ari Now, ang sinabi dito, provided, ito ang decision ng Supreme Court, the Office of Proviso is to limit the application of the law. It is contrary to the nature of a proviso to enlarge the operation of the law. It should not be construed so as to repeal or destroy the main provisions of the status. A proviso which is directly repugnant to the purview of or body of an act is inoperative and void. So meaning, Chairman, void. Di ba?
We will study it, Mr. Chair.
Maraming salamat. The reason, Mr. Chairman, that I'm pointing this out, the intent of the public offering requirement in franchise law is to ensure public dispersal of shares in accordance with the Constitution. How can we allow a share swap? Paano natin allow yung agreement na yan to be a form of compliance with Section 8 of Republic Act 9511 when in reality, wala naman pong public dispersal of shares that happened. What will prevent other public utilities to do the same? Sabihin ng Maynilad, sabihin ng Meralco, sabihin ng iba pang public utilities, ay, magsi-share swap na rin kami. Share swap na lang para kami rin na may-ari. Di ba? And that's my point, Mr. Chairman. We cannot allow this. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, the Honorable Dan Fernandez. The Chair, is SEC here? SEC. Attorney Tria.
Yes, Your Honor. President.
Question. What is the treatment on a share swap? And how does this affect the corporate structure of a corporation?
Essentially, a share swap, it's not a public transaction. It's a private transaction wherein it's an agreement between two parties. Example, I'm a shareholder, and then I will have an agreement with another shareholder. We can swap our shares. So essentially, the effect would be there would be a change in ownership of the shares. It's not if relating to the issue at hand, it's not a public offering since in a share swap there is already parties that are decided who will own the shares.
So therefore, the law says IPO. Can a share swap take the place of an IPO?
We do not have an official position on that issue,
But-
Mr. Chair, but
Please.
if not, it's not a public offering. A share swap is a private transaction, Mr.
So
Chair.
you're of the opinion that it is two different animals altogether.
Yes, Mr.
And
Chair.
cannot
And if
be the same, coming from the same mother.
yes, Mr. Chair. Although the commission does not have an
No,
official position, but
yes.
if you desire, we
You're a
can
lawyer.
submit
I
a
mean,
position paper, Mr. Chair.
yeah, but as a lawyer, you feel that it's not the same. You're
Yes.
clear that it's not the same.
As a lawyer,
Because
Mr.
you
Chair.
said it's not a public offering, and the law calls for a public offering.
Yes,
Thank
Mr.
you
Chair.
very much, Attorney Tia.